They were chairs, they sat like outside.
Fall River City Council public hearing will now be called to order. Madam Clerk?
Councilors Kadim?
Here.
Dion? Here. Kilby?
Here.
La Liberty LeBeau?
Here.
Lee?
Here.
Peckham?
Here.
Pelletier?
Here.
Pereira?
Here.
President Ponti.
Here, pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. First item on our agenda is curb removals. Item number one is Kevin Swist of 407 Albert Street for the removal of curbing as follows. The petitioner is requesting the removal of 15 feet of curbing to the existing 15-foot driveway opening to allow for additional access. The proposed work improves access to the property and does not cause a significant adverse effect to on-street parking in the area. Is there a motion to open the hearing?
Second.
Motion to open the hearing has been made by Councilor Kilby, seconded by Councilor Peckham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Is there any proponents wishing to speak on this item? Calling all proponents. Any written, Madam Clerk?
No, Mr. President.
Hearing none. Any opponents wishing to speak on this? Calling all opponents. Hearing none. Any written, Madam Clerk?
Nope. None.
Is there a motion to close?
So moved.
Motion to close
the
hearing.
hearing's been made by Councilor Kadim,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Peckham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item two, Master Builder Ministries, Inc., of 54 Bedard Street, Fall River, for the removal of curbing as followed. The proposed work will improve access to the property and does not cause significant adverse effect to off-street parking in that area. Is there a motion to open?
Motion open.
Motion to
Second.
open the hearing's been made by Councilor Pelletier, seconded by Councilor Peckham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Any proponents wishing to speak on this item? Come on down. Actually, right to that microphone right there. And if you can just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Ronald Bernier. I'm the pastor of Master Builder Ministries. I live at 191 Northeastern Avenue in Fall River. The item that you have here is because we submitted a site plan review that's been approved by the city for us to have the adequate parking to be able to comply with the zoning regulations. And so these cuts have been made, requested in regards to what was approved by the site plan review from the city. Okay.
Thank you very much. Any additional proponents wishing to speak on this? Calling all proponents. Hearing none. Calling all opponents. Any opponents wishing to speak? Calling all opponents. Madam Clerk, any written communications?
We have no written communication.
No written communications. Motion to close.
Motion to close?
Motion
Second.
Motion to close has been made by Councilor Kilby, seconded by Councilor Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Patricia Sharrett of 1077 County Street for the removal of curbing as follows. The petitioner is requesting the removal of 16 feet of curbing to an existing 18-foot driveway opening to allow for additional access. The proposed work improves access to the property and does not cause a significant adverse effect to on-street parking in that area. Motion to open
Motion open.
has been made by Councilor Peckham, seconded by Councilor Kilby. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Any proponents wishing to speak on this item? Calling all proponents. Hearing none. Any opponents wishing to speak? Calling all opponents. Hearing none. Any written communications, Madam Clerk?
No written communications.
Hearing none. Is there a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Motion to close the public hearing has been made by Councilor Peckham, seconded by Councilor Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 4, Brian Costa, 145 Dickinson Street, for the removal of curbing as follows. The petitioner is requesting the removal of 19 feet 5 inches of curbing to an existing 25-foot driveway opening to allow for additional access. The proposed work improves access to the property and does not cause a significant adverse effect to on-street parking in that area. Is there a motion to open?
Motion open.
Motion to open. The hearing has been made by Councilor Peckham.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Calling all proponents wishing to speak. All proponents? Hearing none. Any opponents? Calling all opponents. Hearing none. Is there any written communication, Madam Clerk?
No written communication.
No written communication. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close.
Motion to close the hearing has been made by Councilor Peckham, seconded by Councilor Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 5, Nuno de Silva, 37 Granton Street, for the removal of curbing as follows. The petitioner has an existing 16-foot driveway opening and is requesting the removal of an additional 16 feet of curbing on the east side of the property for additional access. The proposed work improves access to the property and does not cause a significant adverse effect to on-street parking in that area. Is there a motion to open?
Motion.
Motion to open has
Second.
been made by Counselor Pelletier, seconded by Counselor Peckham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Calling all proponents wishing to speak on this, calling all proponents. Hearing none, calling all opponents wishing to speak, calling all opponents. Madam Clerk?
No written communications.
No written communications. I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Motion to close has been made by Counselor Peckham, seconded by Counselor Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 6, Joanne Bentley of 229 High Crest Road for the removal of curbing as follows. The petitioner is requesting the removal of 16 feet of curbing to the existing 29-foot driveway opening to allow for additional access. The proposed work improves access to the property and does not cause a significant adverse effect to on-street parking in that area. Is there a motion to open?
Motion to open.
Motion to open has been made by Counselor Pereira, seconded by Counselor Peckham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Is there a motion to open the hearing? Did I just do that?
We just.
I
opened it.
just did that. My
It's
bad.
okay.
Any,
Proponents?
calling all proponents wishing to speak?
Thank you. Joanne Bentley of 229 High Crest Road. I just want to say that I'm not adding to the existing curb cut that I have. I want to put in a second curb cut so that I can make a circular driveway, a semicircular driveway. So I'm not adding to what I have.
Great, thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Any additional proponents wishing to speak? Counselor in seat 7, Counselor Pelletier?
So, it's gonna be 29 feet? She's got
Existing.
29 feet, right?
Yeah.
That's the existing one, according to the petitioner.
She's looking at 16.
16.
And 16.
She's
That
looking
comes to
for
45.
removal.
She don't need 45?
Come on back up, Ms. Bentley.
At the east end of my property, I have a curb cut that's existing. I'm looking to put in a 16-foot curb cut at the west end of my property to make a semicircular driveway. I'm not asking for 45 feet. I want to leave the existing one alone
Yeah.
and put in a second one so I can have a semicircular driveway.
Well, you got 29 and 16, it's 45.
It must have come down from engineering on our
Oh,
budget that way. It's
How
nothing
how
to do with
big's
the
the other
petition.
driveway?
29.
Is it 29?
Yes, the existing one, you come in at the bottom of my property,
Yeah.
it does an S curve up to the garage.
Okay.
I'm
And-
asking to put a curb cut at the top of my property, which is in line with my garage.
At 16 feet?
Yes,
So it still comes out to what? 45? 29 and 16?
yes, but they're two separate curb cuts.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so that's what you got, all set, no problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other proponents wishing to speak? Calling all proponents. Hearing none. Any opponents? Calling all opponents. Hearing none. Motion to close.
Motion to
Motion.
Has
close.
been made by Counselor Peckham, seconded by Counselor Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 7, Paulo A. Gouveia of 95 Nightingale Street for the removal of curbing as follows. The petitioner is requesting the removal of 18 feet of curbing to the existing 16-foot driveway opening to allow for additional access. The proposed work improves access to the property and does not cause a significant adverse effect to on-street parking in that area. Motion to open has been made
Motion
by
to open.
Counselor
Second.
Peckham, seconded by Counselor Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Calling all proponents wishing to speak on this item. All proponents. Hearing none. Opponents? Calling all opponents. Madam Clerk, any written communication?
No written communications.
Hearing no written communication, I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to
Motion
close.
Made by
Second.
Counselor Peckham, seconded by Counselor Kilby. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 8, Bruno De Cruz of 879 Pierce Street for the removal of curbing as follows. The petitioner has an existing 22-foot 8-inch driveway opening on the Stetson Street side of the property and is requesting the removal of 16 feet of curbing for an additional driveway opening on Pierce Street. The proposed work improves access to the property and does not cause a significant adverse effect to on-street parking in that area. Is there a motion to open? Motion to open has been made
Second.
by Counselor Kilby, seconded by Counselor Peckham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Calling all proponents wishing to speak, calling all proponents. Hearing none. Any opponents wishing to speak, calling all opponents. Hearing none. Madam Clerk?
No written communications.
No written communications. Is there a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Has been made by Counselor Peckham, seconded by Counselor
Second.
Dion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Item 9, Rui Soberio, 655-657 Robeson Street for the removal of curbing as follows. The petitioner is requesting the removal of 12 feet of curbing to the existing 14-foot driveway opening to allow for additional access. The proposed work improves access to the property and does not cause a significant adverse effect to on-street parking in that area. Is there a motion to open? Motion to open has been made by Councilor Kilby, seconded by Councilor Pelletier. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Calling all proponents wishing to speak on this item. Calling all proponents. Hearing none. Any opponents wishing to speak? All opponents. Hearing none. Madam Clerk, any written communication?
No, Mr. President.
Hearing no written communication, is there a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Motion to
Second.
close. The hearing has been made by Councilor Lee, seconded by Councilor Peckham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 10, Jasmine Investments LLC, 242 Stafford Road, for the removal of curbing as follows. The petitioner is requesting the removal of 16 feet of curbing to extend to an existing 22-foot curb cut within the property. The installation does not represent a significant restriction to on-street parking and would increase off-street parking availability for the property. Is there a motion to open?
Motion open.
Motion to
Second.
open has been made by Councilor Peckham,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Pelletier. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Calling all proponents wishing to speak on this item, calling all proponents. Hearing none, calling all opponents wishing to speak. All opponents? Hearing none, is there a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Motion to close has been made by Councilor Peckham, seconded by
Second.
Councilor Dion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 11, the Massachusetts Electric Company for one pole location as follows. On Pleasant Street, the petitioner is requesting to install a 35-foot pole approximately 50 feet north of the existing pole number 10. The pole will be a stub gray pole to allow for future overhead primary extending down Front Street in accordance with Plan Number 295-60958 dated July 14th, 2020. Motion to open the hearing would be
Motion to
appropriate.
open.
Has been made by Councilor
Second.
Kilby, seconded by Councilor Dion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Calling all proponents wishing to speak. Calling all proponents. Hearing none. Opponents? Any opponents? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
No written communication.
Is there a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Motion to close has been made by
Second.
Councilor Peckham, seconded by Councilor Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion to adjourn. Public hearings has been
Second.
made by
Second.
Councilor Kilby, seconded by Councilor Dion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Fall River City Council Committee on Finance will now be called to order. Madam Clerk.
Councilor Skadim?
Here.
Dion?
Here.
Kilby?
Here.
Lullaby LeBeau?
Here.
Lee?
Here.
Peckham?
Here.
Pelletier?
Here.
Pereira?
Here.
President Ponti.
Here, pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. First item on our agenda is citizens' input. Madam Clerk, do we have any written communications for citizens' input?
We do, Mr. President.
If you could do those first, please.
Dear members of the City Council, with a purchase and sale agreement already signed for the former Central Police Station at 158 Bedford Street, members of the Preservation Society request additional details on what processes are in place for municipal follow-up and enforcement of the purchase and sale agreement. In the past, purchase and sale agreements for city sales of historic buildings have also included conditions to ensure project completion or that the city is properly compensated if otherwise. Unlikely, a lack of oversight and follow-through has allowed for multiple properties to fall short of their promised redevelopment proposals without consequence. As witnessed with the missing purchase and sale agreement for the NB Borden School and Healy School, conditions of sale and provisions to protect the city only extend as far as the city's follow-up and enforcement of the purchase and sale agreement. It is with that in mind that the Preservation Society requests more information on what processes are in place to ensure the city's best interests are protected. Sincerely, Preservation Society of Fall River.
Council President?
Counselor in seat 7, Counselor Pelletier.
You know, we hashed this out pretty well, Committee on Real Estate, and Matt Thomas done an excellent job with all the lawyer work that he had to do, making sure that they're going to do what they say they're going to do in the time they're going to do it, a certain time span there. And I think all we got to do is send them a copy of Matt Thomas's work, and they should be satisfied. As far as the Diamond School, I think that's a lost cause already. He already said he wasn't going to spend any more money on that particular building. is gonna cost 1.3 million, and you don't have that type of money. So, you know, they can chase it down, do what they have to do. You know, he bought the building, and he can't fix it, because he can't afford it. So, I'm sure sooner or later, he's gonna have to do something with the building, but he's certainly not gonna fix it. So, that's where we stand with the two pieces. So if we can get the letter out, or what we had from the lawyer to the committee, their committee, I think they know what's going on with that.
I would suggest maybe a communication from the council to Attorney Thomas for him to respond
Yeah,
accordingly
okay.
would probably be in our best interest, if we
Okay,
could do that.
Mr. President, thank you.
Council seat 8, Councilor Pereira.
The only thing that I would like to add is if we have a preservation committee in the city, they should be involved with some of these things. We have these committees, for what purpose? If they're not involved in giving, their perspective on certain things. Maybe they could help developers or what have you. But I think that they should be at the table as well in the future. And I don't know if that needs to be some kind of a change through ordinance or what. But there's been a couple of times that they have felt shunned by things that go on in the city. So if we have committees, we should be utilizing them, or not have those committees, one or the other. But they do work hard at trying to preserve things at the Preservation Committee, just to be a partner. That's all I have to say. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor in seat 5, Councilor Lee.
Not disagreeing with Counselor in seat 8. I think that in this particular situation, and I think Council Pelletier would agree, who was the chair of the committee, we did everything we could
Yeah.
to honor, I know I did personally, honor the citizens' input that was brought in during that meeting to make sure that all the questions that were put on that citizens' input were asked during that meeting. But I think that to improve the process going forward, what Council in seat 8 proposes wouldn't be a bad idea. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Good afternoon, Council President and members of the City Council. I wanted to speak out on some items that are on the agenda for today. First of all, I understand there is a resolution for the Committee on Health and Environmental Affairs to meet with a representative of the Urban Tree Commission and others to discuss tree stumps. I know the Mayor's office is working to fill in members of the Urban Tree Commission as they currently only have one member. I think this resolution should be tabled to give the administration time to fill in the board with qualified members. Secondly, I want to give some input on the financial affairs of our city. They obviously do not look well given this pandemic. The city was placed in this situation over the faults of the prior administration by removing multiple sources of revenues for political gain, and there were multiple misappropriations of funds and wasteful spending. We still have the same chief financial officer who placed our city in an awful financial situation. Mrs. Sahadi has been in the oversight over the removal of multiple sources of revenue and has placed our city in a poor financial situation. For the betterment of this community, she should resign. Lastly, the city needs to make a capital investment in order to bring in further revenues for this community. This council should work with Mr. Perry and the DCM, along with the mayor, to create a transfer station which can be converted into a gasification plant. We can regionalize Fall River to the trash market. This will bring in a strong source of revenue for our community, which in turn will lead to tax and fee breaks for our city residents. Best regards, Colin Dias. And lastly, we have, this was forwarded to members of the council after the last meeting, and again this afternoon, from Marcy Yitkin, a former member of the Park Board, who has forwarded and asked that we read a legal opinion that she obtained from an attorney. To whom it may concern, I was asked to evaluate whether the mayor of Fall River has the power to unilaterally terminate or remove a commissioner on the Board of Park Commissioners. On the basis of the following research and analysis, in my opinion, the answer to this question is that the mayor of Fall River cannot unilaterally terminate or remove a commissioner prior to the expiration of the commissioner's term, and that this power is reserved by the City Council. I reviewed the August 3rd legal opinion of Fall River Corporation Counsel Alan Rumsey, in which he opined that the mayor of Fall River does have the authority to unilaterally remove a commissioner. Attorney Rumsey's opinion was premised on the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 43, Section 54, and Kesmarsky versus Mayor of Springfield. I must respectfully disagree with Attorney Rumsey's opinion, as it is my opinion that this statute and case are inapplicable to Fall River's form of municipal government. In Kesmarsky, the court explained that the Springfield mayor, in removing commissioners, was acting under General Law, Chapter 43, Section 52 and 54, which were incorporated into Springfield's charter upon Springfield's adoption of the Plan A charter set forth in Chapter 43. In contrast, Fall River, in contrast, does not have a Plan A charter as set forth in Chapter 43. Thus, Fall River's charter does not incorporate the charter provision of General Law, Chapter 43, including Section 54. Instead, Fall River operates under a Home Rule charter. Accordingly, Chapter 43, Section 54 does not apply and does not give the mayor of Fall River the power to unilaterally remove commissioners. I have reviewed other applicable provisions of Fall River's municipal law and charter, as well as General Law, Chapter 45, Section 2, which sets forth the city council's authority to remove a commissioner by two-thirds vote. In the course of my review and research, I have found no other references to the mayor's authority to remove commissioners prior to the expiration of their terms. In the absence of an explicit grant of authority to remove a commissioner prior to the expiration of his or her term, in my opinion, that mayor lacks such authority. Furthermore, I reviewed Article 10, Section 10-1 of Fall River's charter, which states all general laws of or pertaining to Fall River that are in force when this charter takes effect and not specifically or by implication revealed by this charter shall continue in full force and effect until amended or repealed. Given that the charter explicitly sets forth the mayor's executive powers, the mayor's powers of appointment, the mayor's power to remove certain city officials, and that these provisions make no mention of the mayor's power to remove members of city boards, it is my opinion that any such power has been repealed by implication upon adoption of this version of this Fall River's charter. It is my understanding that the mayor of Fall River has sent removal letters purporting to terminate or remove 2 sitting commissioners prior to the expiration of their terms, and that the mayor intends to appoint replacement commissioners. Given the questionable legality and effectiveness of the mayor's removal of the 2 sitting commissioners, I caution you that any action of the board that relies on the participation of the new members to the exclusion of the prior members risks being invalidated. Thank you for the opportunity to assist in answering this question. Please feel free to contact me with any questions. Very truly yours, Lauren Kirschenbaum.
Council in seat 4, Council Vice President LeBeau.
Madam Clerk, do we have that in our email?
I'm sorry?
Is that letter in our email?
Yes.
Thank you. I yield.
Madam Clerk, if you want to just send that communication over to Corporation Counsel.
Sure.
For a proper response, I think that'd be appropriate.
Sure.
I know there's a differencing of opinion there, so I'll let the lawyers deal with that information and get that over, and then Attorney Rumsey could then provide a written response and forward it over to the council for their acceptance and placing on file.
Okay.
Councilor in seat 5, Councilor Lee.
I do think in the end, we need to see some type of finality in where we stand on this. If we, or is it the administration's place to do this type of action? So.
Yeah, I agree, Councilor. So
Yeah.
what I think is
Yield.
I think the best bet here is to get this over to Attorney Rumsey, have him respond, review, and then copy us on that communication. We'll put it on the agenda and accept it and place it on file. And if there's any ordinance changes, Madam Clerk, that are required for this, please urge Corporation Counsel to advise this council likewise.
Sure.
Councilor in seat 2, Councilor Dion.
I believe that I submitted a resolution in regards to this, and that was one of the bits of information that would have been included in that resolution for discussion. And I believe it's on tonight's agenda.
I believe it is. Resolution, yes. Item 13.
With that, I yield.
Thank you. Councilor in seat 4.
I was just going to say thank you.
Thank you. Hearing no further communication, is that it, Madam Clerk, for written?
Yes, that's it for written communications.
Next, Councilor in seat 2.
I just want to correct myself. Myself and Vice President LeBeau co-sponsored that resolution.
Thank
With that, I
you.
yield. Thank you.
First individual who signed up for citizens' input, Bill Damaris of 22 Alte Street, regarding Chaplain Ken Boyer. Just so everybody knows who's here, we will be going to the microphone right there. No coming down to the tables due to the COVID restrictions.
Hello. My name is Bill Damaris. I'm the Senior Vice Commander of the Fall River War Veterans Council, and I'm representing the War Council here tonight, and also representing Commander Robert Viner, who is ill. I'm here to speak on a proposal that's going to be before you today to name the Veterans Building on Pine Street after Chaplain Ken Boyer. Many of you are familiar with Chaplain Boyer. I mean, besides being a Korean conflict veteran, he's been a member of and a chaplain for the Post 314 of the American Legion, the VFW Post 486, which is 100 years old this year, by the way, the oldest one, I think, in the state. So, and you probably saw Chaplain Boyer at every veteran ceremony. We've also seen him at all the ceremonies at cemeteries honoring veterans. So we think it's just and right and fitting that the center on Pine Street be named the Chaplain Kenneth Boyer Veterans Building. And like I said, I represent 12 veterans organizations in Fall River. Some of them are here tonight and don't speak on their own. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Damaris.
Okay.
Larry Biola of 108 Kennedy Street. If I said your name incorrectly, I'm sorry.
Not quite, but that's good enough.
Okay.
I'm Larry Barola. I live at 108 Kennedy Terrace. I'm a member of the VFW Post 486, which Kenny Boyer belonged to and was our chaplain. He was one of the, how am I going to put it, most explicit men I could think of. Very passionate the way he spoke about veterans, and we miss him a lot in our, when we have our dinners and everything else, the dedications and all that he used to go to. He was a very, very dedicated man. He did over 500 burial services for us. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Paul Pacheco, 141 Marchand Street, Fall River. Regarding Ken Boyer.
Yes, hi, my name is Paul Pacheco. I'm the Commander of Disabled American Veterans in Fall River. I live at 141 Marchand Street. As the Commander of Disabled American Veterans in Fall River, we have approximately 538 members. And I've known Kenny Boyer, the chaplain of the War Council for, since the old Truesdale Hospital. I've known him for many, many years. Countless number of funerals he's attended and ceremonies in the city. I can't remember them all. But I'd appreciate the council taking consideration to accepting him into the office that we try to get him in as the Veterans Building, Veterans Center in Fall River, as it can be named as after him. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Boyer, 92 Reed Road, Westport. Is there a motion to waive the rules?
Motion to waive the rules.
Motion to waive the rules
Second.
has been made by Councilor Pereira, seconded by Councilor Peckham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. 92 Reed Road, Westport.
Yes. I'm just here in support of the initiative to name the building after Ken Boyer. Ken was my dad, and he personally read over 500 testimonials over veterans' gravesites. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dan Boyer, 94 Pamela Drive, Swansea. Is there a motion to waive the rules?
Motion to waive.
Motion to waive.
the rules
Second.
has been made by Councilor Lee, seconded by Councilor Peckham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
So I don't know how much more I can add to the remarks made by the veterans that are here today. Thank you for your service, gentlemen. My father did many, many rituals. I personally have been at several funerals where he did those, and it's very hard to keep a dry eye. He loved his city, he loved his country, and he loved his family. And I think it would be a tremendous honor if this Veterans Building would be named in his honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next order of business is a discussion on the FY21 municipal budget. No referral is necessary to this council, to full council, because that has happened already on our agenda. Is there any additional comments, questions, concerns? Anybody have a question for Mrs. Sahadi? Counselor in seat 4, Council Vice President LeBeau.
Yep. Ms. Sadi, come and go.
Counselor in seat
The way
1.
you're asking the question, is there any new information that we need to be presented?
I'm not sure if Mrs. Sahadi has additional information for us. There's no change in the current budget that was rejected at the last meeting, though. Mrs. Sahadi can
Good afternoon, everyone.
opine on that, though.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think Council President was the one that initiated the email, asked me to do, was to put a summary together for all of you with regard to the initiatives the mayor is working on with both the ability to save revenue, as well, incur additional revenue or generate additional revenue and save expenses. So what you have in front of you is, and I emailed you a draft over the weekend, and then the mayor and I worked on it again this morning, so we have a revised and updated list, is the type of areas that we can generate revenue. And so we can generate revenue with a number of fees that are traffic-related. So the meter fee, as you heard from Mrs. Ferreira when she was down here representing her department, we can go from 25 cents to 50 cents. We can increase the ticket fee from $20 to $25. There are a number of other items, the bus stop fee. In addition to all of that, Counselor in seat 2 and Counselor in seat 4 met with the mayor and I and Mr. Perry, and we talked at length at the business trash that is being picked up throughout the community. There is Mr. Perry, as well as Counselor in seat 2, Counselor Dion, have spent an enormous amount of time trying to reconcile the business pickups that we currently have. Looking at those, the cost to dispose of that solid waste is significant to the city. And so one of the proposals the mayor would not need an ordinance on would be to eliminate picking up trash for those businesses going forward. That is something that is being worked on right now. EZ is doing an audit so they can reconcile the actual businesses with those that Councilor Dion was able to summarize herself. And once we have a good understanding of what that is, then the mayor would be able to make a decision as to whether or not it was important for him at this point, and it was revenue generating. In this case, it's not revenue generating, right? It's going to be a saving in the disposal costs. So right now, Mr. Perry had estimated $140,000. If we were to implement that on November 1, we'd recognize about $100,000 this year. I've calculated that at 93, but about $100,000 this year. It may in fact be a little bit more, because what we have found out from all of the hard work that Councilor Dion has put together is that there are probably more businesses than the businesses that were listed on Attachment H to the EZ contract. We also looked at potentially adjusting whether or not we should be collecting trash for 6 families or larger, so residential properties that are larger than 6 families or 6 families. It's Mrs., again, Councilor Dion, because this is the project that she's been working on, has indicated that these really should be looked at as commercial properties and not residential in that sense. They're businesses in most instances. So if we were to do that, we would be looking at potentially another $250,000 to $300,000 savings in solid waste. Again, something that would have to be implemented during the next month or two in order to really affect those savings in fiscal '21, which is what we're talking about. Health insurance, you heard Mrs. LaFlash here when she talked about health insurance. We're looking at the data claims for the post-65 non-Medicare eligible and potentially moving them into another plan. It would probably give them a little bit more in the way of benefits, But on the same hand, it would save us some information. The raw data or the sample data that Gallagher prepared for us indicated it could be as high as $1 million, but it was certainly raw data, and they are currently working on looking at each and every one of the claims for those retirees that fit into that classification of insured retirees, and they are going to get back to us with a more finite information. It will never be 100% in terms of what's the exact number, because as you know, we pay based on claims. And then the two other plans that you heard us talk about, they would be effective really for fiscal '21. These would be adding an additional HMO, as well as advertising and marketing, if you will, the high deductible with potentially an HSA plan. So we've got all those things looking at. Ordinances that we will need.
Not yet.
Okay. Ordinances that we will need that Mrs. Ferrer and I have spoken about, that occur in most other communities, large vehicles that obstruct view. We have no fee for that right now, but in a lot of other communities, that's a $20 fee. Expired registrations. Many communities utilize expired registrations and have a local fee of $50 for that. Bus stops, she's talked about the meters. We've discussed already, that's going from 25 cents to 50 cents. That could certainly earn us somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000. And then just tickets in general, they haven't increased in quite some time. They're currently at $20, and she's recommending that we go to $25. All of these can be implemented as early as November. I wouldn't necessarily say October, because we've got one meeting left this month, and then two, and it's got to go to the traffic board first. As far as adding new meters, you've heard Mrs. Ferreira talk about that as well. On 6th Street, it's primarily businesses. She's thinking she can add 40 meters there. And then on South Main Street, we've talked about adding the meters down along South Main Street near St. Anne's Hospital. So those are all options we have on the table. Some of those locations, we would be doing kiosks as opposed to regular meters. Some of them, if we're needing to buy additional meters, we'd want to look at digital heads so that we can take credit cards and not take just the coin. Counselor in seat 4 talked about the bulky items at the last meeting, and she's 100% correct. We can get rid of, or our resident can get rid of 3 items for $12, which seems outrageously low compared to other communities. So even if we change that to 3 items for $36, that would increase our revenue by about $150,000. I'll skip over the next box for a moment if you're all looking at your worksheets. Building permits. Building department and the administration have been working on an analysis of building permits for quite some time. You'll see the document that's in front of you is actually dated in February. I believe that's when Mr. Hathaway and his staff actually completed it. That's going to be a bigger project, right? We're going to really have to sit down with Mr. Hathaway and the ordinance committee and really look at the fees and determine what fees are really out of line, in the sense that City of Fall River's fees are significantly low compared to everybody else's for building permits. I just looked at a couple of them, and I made some comparisons across the board, and in particular, new construction, ours is extremely low compared to other communities. So we may be able to increase our revenue base for building permits by looking at, or by permits in general, by looking at all of the permits, not just building, but the electrical permits and the gas permits. So what I did was I had a binder put together for all of you. It's separated by communities that we've done a lot of research on. So you can kind of look at it yourself and hopefully be able to get back to us and Mr. Hathaway on what you're seeing in terms of building and/or, like I said, electrical and gas that could be increased to give the city a little bit more local aid, local receipts, if you will, and a little bit less reliance on state aid. And then lastly, but certainly not least, we've talked with all of you at some of our meetings with the mayor with regard to implementing a trash fee. And still up for discussion by far. Still a lot of work to do on it if we were to implement it. But in the center of page 2, you'll see that we just analyzed how many units we do have, and whether it would be a $5 fee or a $10 fee, and what that would generate for revenue to the city. And again, at this point, we have no ability to really estimate who's going to opt out. Mr. Perry's got a lot of information from when we implemented this the last time, or when actually, I believe it was Mayor Sutter that implemented this, correct?
And Mr. Pacheco.
Oh, and Mr. Pacheco too, that's right. So we've got a lot of work that would need to be done on this. The implementation of this, if it were to happen, would have to be a bit later in the year, so that it gets rolled out properly before we rush into adding this particular fee. So, Council President is correct. You have in front of you the budget that you were given with the couple of changes that we had initially talked about. The stabilization is $2 million. We're utilizing $1 million from the CARES money for transportation. We did put back the offices, both on the police and the fire, that both chiefs recommended they would need for their complements, and we reduced the health insurance by the $1.5 million. So I can answer any questions you might have with regard to the budget or any of the additional revenues or expense savings that we could potentially be able to experience.
Thank you, Mrs. Sahadi. After last week's meeting, I think there was a narrative that was put out into the community by some counselors and some members of the administration that the council is divided and that the administration and the council are not on the same wavelength, I guess, for lack of a better word. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair for anybody on either side to be putting that kind of narrative out there. Counselors were elected to do what's right with what's before them. We weren't elected to just rubber stamp things. So nowhere in our oath of office did we say we were going to do that. So I find it upsetting that any counselor or any member of the administration would push that, would forward email threads to the news, would find the need to unfriend counselors. It's just petty, divisive politics. That's what's divisive. Taking a no vote on a budget isn't divisive. If people need more information, if they have other views, if they want more time, if they have other ideas such as revenues or savings, that's what we're supposed to do. So it's been bothering me for the last week, and I just wanted to say it publicly, so there it is. I had met with the mayor on Tuesday to discuss what it was that I wanted to see, and what I wanted to see was revenues or savings and not cuts. There was a lot of talk on the council floor about having to make cuts, and I don't think that that's the only way to go about doing it. I had explained to him that Councilor Dion, Councilor in seat 2, had put an enormous amount of effort, as you said, into looking into our current processes with trash and recycling, and that she has a resolution in. It was going to go to finance, but where we need savings, why we should come in, if Councilor Dion was accepting of it, and meet with the administration so she could share what she had come up with, and she was more than happy to do that. We went in on Wednesday of last week, and I think you all were quite impressed. I knew the amount of work she had put in. I'm not sure that you can quite describe it until you see it in person, but she has spent weeks on just our current trash process and where there are flaws in the system. Coming up with savings, for instance, you touched on the business pickups, and I know that you have an expense savings here of $93,000, but then you have a decrease of 140,000. Could you just explain the two different numbers?
Sure. So the information that Mr. Perry had originally put together with the tonnage that he estimated, the savings would be $140,000 annually. But if we don't implement it till November 1,
Okay.
that would be 8 months' worth of the year.
I see.
And
Okay.
it may very well, now that we've seen the analysis and EZ and Counselor in seat 2 and Mr. Perry are going to reconcile it, it certainly could be more than the $140,000 that was originally estimated
the
in
number.
terms of tonnage.
So
Right.
in our ordinances, if anyone is watching this, it does not, we don't pick up business trash. It's not in our ordinance to do so. However, there was a pilot program or a fundraiser program, I guess you would call it, for lack of a better term, with Pink Barrels in 2013.
2000, I think 11 it
11?
started.
And people that purchased a Pink Barrel, half of which went to charity, have had their trash picked up since then. And there was maybe 70 businesses in that program.
Point of information, that was strictly supposed to be for recyclables, not for
Just
solid
recycling.
waste.
Yep, correct.
I also want to add to the recycling piece, at the time that was done, and maybe the gentleman can correct me here, we were, the prices for recycling was significantly lower. If not, we were making money at that point in time, correct?
That's correct.
All right, I
So
yield.
what ended up happening is a lot of those businesses then also got trash barrels dropped off to them. We're not sure why. And since then, we have between 200 and 300 businesses, according to the work that Councilor in seat 2 has done, and the EZ numbers and Mr. Perry's numbers, correct? Somewhere between 200 and 300 businesses that we're picking up.
That's my understanding.
Yet nowhere in ordinance does it say that we're supposed to pick up any business
That is
trash.
correct. That is
So,
correct.
to me, that's not fair. It's not something that needs to be changed in ordinance because it's not in there. It's just something that,
Right, which is why I have it in the top ordinance,
Yes.
not needed.
so I appreciate the work. So, Mr. Perry is going to have EZ check, mark down all of the businesses that they are picking up over a month's time, 4 weeks' time. So we can reconcile that list, and then, those businesses will be notified that they're not supposed to have their trash or recycling picked up, or anything picked up.
That's correct, Counselor.
Okay. So there's going to be a savings there. The 6 families, you have this under ordinance, not needed. However, it is in our ordinances that we do pick up to and including a 6-family.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was up to 5. I thought
I
6
believe
and
it's up
over
to
it was
6,
not.
including 6 families. in the
Up to.
ordinances.
And I'll address that in a minute.
So there might need to be a correction there. However, if they are included, to tell them they can't be included now, I'm not sure. I'd have to see how the pros and cons of that work, but if that's something that's been happening all along and it's been in our ordinance all along, I don't necessarily agree that we should stop that. Where the businesses, we were never supposed to pick them up, that's completely different. The special event overtime, that's the Holy Ghost Feast, correct?
Yes.
This is something people have been complaining about for years. There's $50,000 in police overtime that's paid for. The feast makes money. They should, like anybody else in the city that has an event, have to pay for their own police presence there. The health insurance, I know that this isn't something that's going to be open enrollment isn't until the March, and that's a number that could change depending on who opts in or opts out. So as far as revenue or savings, we have to see where that goes. And the reason that I'm speaking on all of these is because I had told the mayor on Tuesday that what I needed to be comfortable with his budget is to see some of the money that we're taking out of stabilization made up. And this is the way to do it. I know there was counselors that said, you know what, the budget is the budget. It's not going to change. Nothing's going to change between now and the end of September. Maybe the numbers in the budget aren't going to change, but our revenues, our expenses might not change, but our revenues and our savings, there's certainly, if people put in a little work into it, like Counselor in seat 2 did with the administration last week, there are both savings and revenues. I did also sit down and meet with Mrs. Ferrara in traffic last Tuesday and talk to her about our city getting in line with other communities on different ticket prices and what they do ticket for. This isn't to say that the traffic department is going to start running around writing tickets. These are just ideas to put us in line with other communities. And honestly, if you haven't done anything wrong, you don't have anything to worry about as far as getting a ticket. The meter locations, we had talked about 6th Street and South Main now that the top of the church is closed. There's all those open parking spots, and we have a hospital. Normally, if you go to a hospital anywhere else, you expect to pay at a meter to park. And there's also Olive Park Drive that's open with no meters. So there's plenty of parking, both metered and unmetered.
And I didn't add there, Counselor, but she's also speaking about Duval Street.
So that's what I wanted to
Right.
mention.
Mhm.
Her and I
Now,
talked.
Duval Street would be kiosks, but yes,
Yes.
Duval Street as well.
We talked about Duval Street. That street is constantly lined with cars. There are 3 parking lots. If residents are worried that they'd have to, pay a meter to go down to the waterfront, there's 3 parking lots, one at each end of the park and one right in the middle. Most of the people paying there are maybe going to a restaurant. If you've ever been to the Cove in the summer when it's packed, they're all not, a good majority of the people there are not from here. So I'm fine with meter parking on Duval Street, knowing that we have those lots as well that are free to park in. And then the other item I didn't see here, under the bulky items, I appreciate the increase there. I did not see the mattresses changed. And that is something, if we're charging less than it costs us to get rid of a mattress, that makes 0 sense to me.
No, I completely agree, and we did speak with Mr. Perry on that, and that needs to be increased as well.
No, people might be upset about it, but if they call a private hauler, they're going to be charged $50. Well, we charge $20 right now, and it doesn't
Right.
cover our own
I
disposal
believe he
cost.
told us, what, 27 to get rid of it, or something to that effect,
think so.
25?
And then the only other thing I wanted to address is this trash fee. We had talked about something very different. I don't want people to see this and say, oh, they're going to implement a trash fee. This is just,
This
you
is
know,
just
for
an example.
discussion.
We actually, you're 100% correct, Counselor. We batted around a few ideas on different ways to go about a trash fee
Right.
and what it would generate. But unfortunately, you're right, that was just last week, and there's going to be a lot of work that's going to need to be done to really look at the number of units we have and what combination of those ideas would work best.
Right. So I don't
and
want
be
people to
able
think
to
we're just
be
going to all of a sudden put
implemented.
a trash fee across the board. That's
Right,
not
this
the
was just an
case.
idea to give you, in terms of
The amount.
looking for revenue, what it might generate.
Okay, and we do have the count, which we were looking for at our meeting with the administration last week on how many.
Each of the
threes,
units, right, I
fours. Yeah.
confirmed that with the assessor's office, so,
So that'll be helpful going forward, but there are different things in discussion
exactly.
that are not a across-the-board fee. So I wanted to point that out. So I had, met with the mayor and told him that in order to support the budget, I needed to see some savings, and I needed to see some revenues, and I didn't want to see any cuts, and certainly no cuts to public safety. So I was happy to meet with him, and happy that Councilor Dion was willing to go in and head of the finance meeting and share everything that she has put together. I'll let her talk about that more, but I have to say she did an incredible amount of work. I don't know how long. That took weeks to put it all together. But she has come up with both savings and revenues. So, there are things that can be done. You don't have to vote on something that's in front of you the first time just because you think that that's all there is, and that's not the case. So with that I yield, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor. In seat 5, Councilor Lee.
I wanted to thank you, Ms. Sahadi, for printing out, and if anyone wants a copy of this, I have no problem giving it up. I asked for a copy of all the rentals that are going on in the city, and if anyone would like a copy of this, obviously I
Yeah,
have it here.
I didn't, Counselor, it was kind of last minute. Basically, it's the 3 properties that we've talked about, Rodman Street, Seabury Street, and Mount Hope.
Montop, yeah.
Right, Montop, thank you.
I have,
The others have to do with the library. We rent space for that. Elections, we rent space, but I ran all the rental for Council Lee.
So just
And
so
I can get
every-
everyone copies
And
as
again,
well.
I have no problem giving this up if anyone wants a copy of it, but when I looked at the four main ones, traffic, solid waste facilities, and southeast branch library, we're at about $89,199.96 when you add them all up. You can explain them, each one, but my question is there a way to find some savings there? We're paying about almost 30,000 for storage of barrels, for example. If we were to put those barrels in the outdoors, I know we would be concerned about the weathering part of it and wearing down those barrels. However, if we put them out there for a few months, saved $2,500 up to, or even for 4 months, saved up almost about $10,000 worth. Maybe that gives us what we need to build the right kind of whatever we need to cover those barrels, and then we can save ourselves a little money. I'm just thinking out loud more than anything.
No,
but-
that's great. We always appreciate any thoughts that any of you have. Mr. Perry, I believe stores other than the barrels in that location.
Sure.
Mr. Gallagher has discussed on several occasions to put up a metal building. Trying to find a place to put up a metal building.
And we would need
be
to
able
know
to
the cost of
share it, so we would bring all three of those rentals into the one location, and potentially, depending on the cost of the metal building, could pay for what we're paying in rent and not getting a return. So
We're also at almost 30,000 for the libraries. Like you said, Highland Fence, I believe, was the main business on there.
that's the South End Library.
Yes. Is that something that we can mitigate, or is that something we just have to dish out? Because it's about $2,300 a month, I believe.
Well, that's been the location of the South End Library, as I believe, for quite some time. And some of your counselors.
And it's
could-
closed down, right?
Well, COVID, it wasn't closed before COVID, but
Okay.
it's been, I don't know what the hours of it. Actually, one of the things on, I guess I didn't print it here, but one of the other things that we have talked about, that we're not ready to, the mayor's not ready to announce yet, but the possibility with COVID and really where we are with, going into the fall and people still being concerned, rightfully so, about the virus, is reducing the hours at the library.
Yeah, I saw that on
And,
your list. Yeah.
we spoke with Leanne at the library, and that could be close to $100,000.
Right.
Depending on whether she closes on Saturdays, reduces the hours during the week. But as you know, it was just curbside pickup. Well, first of all, it was closed for a while, and then it was curbside pickup. And now she's not having, of course, the activities that she was having as a result of social distancing and other things. So that's a possibility as well. So we are working on a lot of areas that could potentially either save money and expenses or generate revenue.
Regarding the fee, I would oppose per unit. I do think that's going to be a very burdensome cost on people who pay rent and things like that per unit. That would be tough. I really see that as being tough for people. I kind of was doing the numbers. I offered the numbers that you gave me because I did ask for that specific unit. Just going by per property, like I talked about in the last meeting, it would bring us to about 1.6 rather than $10 per unit per month, which would no doubt raise rents on people. I think this method would not raise the rents and still raise some money at the same time. I know we have to raise money, but I don't want to break anyone's back in the process. So
We certainly understand.
with that, I yield.
Thank you, Counselor. In seat 2, Counselor Dion.
Yeah, in regards to that printout, that was something that also came up at our discussion about the rentals. And at that time, I made the comment that it was unfortunate that we basically gave away all the schools, that we didn't at least utilize one of them, seeing the city own these properties. But that's, water over the dam, because there's nothing we can do about it in hindsight.
On that though, don't we still own that school on North Main Street? It's in the.
North Main and Kennedy?
Is that-
Yeah, I believe that Mr. Pacheco is here, but I believe they use it for
That's-
their storage.
That's in the school department.
Yeah.
Just to Councilman seat 2 and Councilman Forrest's point, is there any availability in land there to construct a metal building to put storage in the back of the building? No, okay, just curious. But that is in the hands of the school department, correct?
Yes.
Councilman seat 2.
What size, it's small, but there is a parking lot there. I mean, what size building would we need to accommodate? I mean, even if we could save on the biggest rental, the most expensive rental, if that, can we ask?
Do you want to have Mr. Perry come down and speak about it if he's prepared?
I think it would be Mr. Gallagher. I mean, Mr. Perry can certainly come down, but, I mean,
you
Mr. Gallagher was the one trying to find the land and price out the building.
Good evening, councilors.
Good evening.
So when it comes to the space building, we did get some prices to Councilor Pereira's request a while back. It'd be about $100,000 between the foundation and the erection of the building, and then you'd have to run the power and some other amenities to that building to be able to have it operate. I think when Councilor Pereira first brought it up, it was about putting a space building at the DPW facility. Mr. Pacheco's correct, that parking lot there at Wiley School on North Main is quite small. They still are going to need room to be able to operate in that parking lot, i.e. bringing in their equipment, removing their equipment. So I think that'd be a really tight spot. Also, it's a residential neighborhood. I'm not sure a metal space building outside somebody's back window is going to be too appealing. But the DPW facility, as it currently stands, would be able to accommodate a space building. Funds, obviously, is what we're talking about. So we'd have to decide if that's something we wanted to spend money on. I know if you accumulate all of the rents together and over a course of time, the building will pay for itself. But that's a decision that we need to really start to look at.
What size building do you think you would need?
It'd be quite big. The prices we got a look at were, I believe, 30 by 100 was for that space building. Now that'd be able to accommodate my equipment, the surplus property that we store at Seabury Street, the carts and whatnot, and to Councilor in seat Five's point. The carts were stored outside at one point. Council, it's really not a realistic idea to do that, especially with the winter months coming. What ends up happening is they get buried in snow. We've tried to cover them with tarps to keep them enclosed. Tarps blow off. They're stacked 8, 10, 15 high. It becomes a danger to even try to deal with. They become inundated with water.
I don't want to steal the floor too much, but it would be timing. It would be a timing thing based on weather. It wouldn't be during the winter months.
Even that, Councilor, what happens is, you get a good rainstorm, you get some water in those barrels, and as you've seen, probably, around the DPW facility, we do have some critters, we'll call them that. And they tend to get in those barrels, and we've actually pulled some dead animal carcasses out of them. It's just not conducive to a good way to store that type of equipment. Plus, we pay a significant amount of money for those, so I'd suggest if we're going to store them, we store them somewhere that's in a controlled environment. So that was to the cart part. The rental property that we have stores other things just in that. Now we're getting more geared into the online auction scenario, so most of the departments now hold their own equipment, and then it goes on online, and then whoever purchases it or bids on it and gets it will pick it up from that department individually. Years ago, all city surplus used to come to the DPW. Some of what we have, or most of what we have at our rental property now are leftover stuff that never sold. So, I mean, it is a way to be able to get out of that rental and be able to have our own building. But again, that's a decision that'll have to be discussed and decided if that's something we want to invest in.
During our discussions with the solid waste program, I know that we weren't 100% clear on all, because there's many, of the ordinances and all the documentation that is related to solid waste and recyclable pickup. So we did have a discussion, because I did speak with a constituent named Robin, whom my colleague in C8 had spoken with, who lives in an owner-occupied 6-family, and we had a very lengthy discussion, which led us to discuss a potential cart program that apparently that other communities are doing, that we thought might be another avenue to take, as opposed to just taking away all pickup from six-family. So, just so people know, we didn't cut this off at the knees, and nobody's making rash decisions, that we're trying to be fair and equitable, raise revenue for the city, but do what's best for the taxpayer.
Agreed, Counselor, agreed. Yeah, everything is on the table at this point. All ideas are welcome. I think, as we've said here, you and I have discussed right here at this very chamber, we need to vet this out before we make a decision. So let's go over it again and again, even if it's ad nauseum, and then make the decision that we feel is best, and do it the right way. So we don't look back, in hindsight's 20/20, as we all too often say. We should have done, could have done. Let's vet it out. Let's take the time necessary to do it, and then do it correctly.
Agreed. And that definitely are the steps that we're attempting to take. Obviously, we need to reduce expenses, we need to increase revenue, we need to have the best trash and recycle program that we can have until we get to the next step or next era.
If I may, Counselor, just one more point on that. As you can see, just mentioning the idea, it makes some people nervous as to the reaction to those things. So I will again ask this council, we will need your support, this administration, myself, our department, we will need your support when we decide whichever direction we're going to go in. Because I can assure you, whichever direction that is, there are going to be some people that are unhappy. So we're trying to do what's best and what's right, and change some things that have needed to be changed for quite some time. But we are going to need that support. So I just remind the council that this is something that isn't going to be well received across the board, but you can't make everybody happy, I believe, as the saying goes.
No, absolutely not. And I think no matter what steps we take or don't take, whether it be the parking meters, it doesn't matter what it is, you're right. You can't, there are always going to be people that aren't happy and are disgruntled. My goal is to do what's best for the greater good, what's best for the city and the taxpayers. In terms of parking meters, I, for one, would much rather put 50 cents in a meter than to have an extra $50 a quarter on my taxes. And these things come down to, in a lot of respects, and in a lot of these ideas, it comes down to, if you don't use it, it doesn't come out of your pocket. So it isn't a case of you're going to charge across the board, and people, and that was part of the argument with the household fee. I put out 1 trash bag a week, they put out 8 trash bags a week, we're all paying $10, it's not fair. And that argument is valid. So in this case, everything would be, hopefully, based on, if whatever you use, you pay for. And I think that's fair and equitable. If I'm using it, I should pay for it. If I'm not, so that's just part of that discussion and argument. In terms of the special event overtime, Mrs. Sahadi, I appreciate that you got this information, because I had brought that up about that line item. And again, we're going to make some people not happy. But as it was said, everybody, no matter who you are, if you want to do a carnival in a park, you have to pay for your police details. There's so many situations where people pay for the overtime for the police. This is one instance, we're talking a $50,000 charge to the residents. And last meeting, the chief sat here and said, it would be great if I could get 1 car a year. We'd always be up to date, we'd always be good on our police cars. Well, this $50,000 for that police overtime, that's the police car every year that you don't have to go back to the taxpayers and say, we need more money for police cars. Mm-hmm. So again, it's just trying to make the best of what we have and trying to make things what's good for the greater good. And with that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. In seat 6, Counselor Peckham.
I yield the floor. My question was.
Counselor in seat 1, Counselor Kadim.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Sahadi, could you just repeat, and I know you stated it, I missed it. Is any change to the one-time use of free cash?
No, Counselor. It's $2 million.
So we're still using $2 million even though we have this document in front of us?
Well, yes, because as you know, any new fees that we put into place, DOR will not let us use those new fees when they certify or when they certify our tax recap in November. So any new fees will not be allowable. If we were to increase the fees that we currently have, those two would be limited to a formula that DOR looks at when they look at our local receipts that were actual local receipts this year, as well as what our budgeted local receipts will be in the next year. So although we may finish the year and not need the $2 million, which is what I've indicated to this council before, we have to start, if you will, with a budget appropriation revenue sources that will support our appropriation order so that DOR will be able to certify our tax rate.
So I guess I'm just a little puzzled by that statement. So typically DLS will ask you the rationale for how you came up with the revenues if it's a new fee, to say that they wouldn't allow us to utilize the revenue?
Yeah, generally, even with the recreational marijuana, they wouldn't let you use the recreational marijuana in the first year until you had some historical data. With regard to increasing parking meters from 25 cents to 30 to 50 cents, if it were implemented and we were able to show them, they may, with rationale, allow that. They may not allow other fees that we're adding if we don't have any historical data. So we could say 40 meters were going to go on 6th Street, but it would be unlikely that they would let us use that for purposes of parking fines, or, parking meter receipts when we're doing the page 3 of the recap.
But just in terms of the, like even the trash fee, if you're going to have $10 or $5 per unit, we know how many units that equates to, right? So I don't know that there's.
Right,
We're,
so, but
we're talking about marijuana. The sales of marijuana, how much a business is going to generate in sales. I recognize that. I just think that the trash fee piece is one that.
I agree with the trash fee piece, but it would have to be in place, it would have to be in ordinance, in place, and I would say probably billed before they would let us utilize it for the tax rate.
Why build? Like if it was an ordinance, we've got the votes, why would we have to bill it?
Well, I don't know. Department of Local Services has been extremely conservative in the last few years, and you probably know that as well. So they have not been of the opinion to let any community, particularly in this particular year when things are so different than they've been, unprecedented, right? They're so different than they've been in many other years. It's not real likely that they would let you use a source of revenue that you don't have any historical data on. Now, whether they would or not, you know as well as I know, that's a discussion that we would have with probably all the way up the line, not just the field rep that comes in to do our recap, but all the way up the line to the director in terms of whether or not that source of revenue would be utilized. That was also true, as you probably know, with the marijuana. There was a lot of discussion because there were some communities that had some data, but other communities that did not, and they were very cautious to let any community use the recreational marijuana receipts.
Okay. So I think it leads to my next question, and I kudos to councilors in seat 2 and 4 for taking the opportunity to go and visit you. I've stated from day one, I don't think it's our responsibility to be doing this. We're a legislative body. I think this should be coming from the administration. We're now talking about some new revenues that we weren't talking about last week or the week before. So it takes this council kicking the budget back up to the administration, having a no vote on the budget before we start even having conversations about new revenues. That's a concern to me. I guess I'm looking for an answer as to
Well, I guess not-
why we're
I guess
September
not-
September 8th.
I guess not to argue with you, but I don't believe that statement is true. We've been looking at new revenues for quite some time. You see the data that you have in front of you that's pretty extensive from the building department that was done back in February before the pandemic hit. So we've been talking about new revenues and ways to save. You can speak with Mrs. Ferreira. She's been talking about fees or additional fees and additional meters for quite some time. There's been several discussions about Duval Street. I think a year ago there were discussions about Duval Street. So I wouldn't say that we haven't talked about internally about additional fees. Yes, I certainly agree that some of your ideas were helpful. I don't know that we actually talked about bulky items, but That is a correct item. We should be looking at those. We
Well,
have
let-
been looking at a number of revenues over the last number of months.
So let me just clarify, because I don't want to be misquoted, because I was misquoted by the Herald News last week. I was accused of calling the mayor a wimp when I said that the budget was built on a whim, which is completely different than
And I take
saying-
exception to that as well.
Saying the wimp piece. When I say "we," I mean the city council and the administration. You may have had a conversation about building permits. This council has never been told, and we've met a number of times talking about trying to build revenues, talking about one-time monies. I've never once heard that we were looking at amending fees for the building permits, anything like that. In fact, I made the recommendation that we should be looking at that. So now all of a sudden, we've got a three-ring binder that shows it, and this is great work. But, you know, the budget was being built in January and February. We knew there was going to be difficult times, and we're now in September getting this document. As a city council, who is required to make some tough decisions based on whether or not we want to support one-time monies, it doesn't make any sense to me. And then I'll say that again. I know there was a pivot move to try to suggest that me as an administrator was trying to be hypocritical in the use of one-time monies. I was very clear we used one-time monies. In fact, Mr. Almeida was here. I talked about how difficult it is to try to replenish one-time monies. I'm trying to avoid that, trying to get back to good government. Again, when we're trying to provide the good government, ask the right questions, hold the accountability, it goes back to what Counselor in seat 4 said, that, you know, you try to pigeonhole certain counselors as being divisive because we're trying to ensure that we're doing everything that we possibly can. And quite frankly, again, here we are, you know, the 23rd hour of trying to pass this budget, and we're seeing revenues for the first time, which I applaud. I applaud the efforts of everybody. But if we did not take a stance 2 weeks ago, we wouldn't have any of this. We wouldn't even be having the discussion. None of this stuff would be coming down to the city council. None of this would be having discussions as to whether or not we want to refer this to ordinance. You know, and quite frankly, after the meeting, you know, there was conversations that were had. I had conversations with the administration, and a question was asked, what would you do? And I said a very similar statement that Counselor in seat 4 said. It's about sustainability, okay? There's nothing sustainable about the budget that was presented to us. And if we want to kind of convince ourselves that there is, that's fine, but all we're doing is lying to ourselves. And in order to build the sustainability, it's exactly what Counselor in seat 4 said. It's about building and generating revenue that is going to be long-lasting and is going to be sustainable to provide the service that we expect. I still have and take exception to the use of one-time money. This is getting me to the point where I'm getting closer to being able to support a budget, and quite frankly, I had this conversation with the mayor. I want to support his budget, I really do. But I was elected by the residents of Fall River, the voters of Fall River, to do a job, and whether people appreciate what I have to say or how I have to say it, whether they appreciate that I wear my emotions on my sleeve, listen, I'm passionate about the city of Fall River. You can't take the passion. With the passion comes the emotion, okay? I've seen what we've had to go through, and to compare my tenure as a city administrator to what's currently going on, when we had 111 firefighters out of 235 budgeted in a budget, and try to compare that as this is the same exact time we're dealing with, I think is just a disservice to a working relationship. So with that little rant, I do have some questions in terms of what you presented, just in particular with the library. When you say that there's an expense savings of $65,000, annually $98,000, what exactly are we looking to do? Like, where's the savings coming from?
It would be all in personnel, so it would be closing the library on Saturdays, and it would be reducing the library hours during the week.
So the savings is because they're hourly employees, is that?
Well, some of them, and you would probably know best with regard to the library, but they have split shifts, so you wouldn't necessarily need the split shifts any longer, so it would theoretically be some people who haven't come back because of COVID would not be invited back, if you will, And then others, there may be reductions in the staffing with regard to the library.
So in terms of that, I mean, I know it was said that there was no changes to the appropriation that came down. So where I see expense savings, so stop business pickups for solid waste, stop six-family pickups in the amount of $266,667. The $50,000 for the police event overtime. The library, I mean, are we going to reduce the line items by that amount so we can reduce the amount of free cash that's,
It's
or
not our,
one-time monies that are being utilized?
it's not our intention to reduce those line items at this particular point. These are ideas in terms of savings. As soon as the program gets implemented to stop picking up the businesses, that would be a savings. I mean, certainly, this council could reduce solid waste disposal by that amount. As you heard this evening, the six families may or may not be part of that analysis or conclusion, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you reduce solid waste disposals by that 266. You certainly could reduce police overtime by the $50,000. I guess the library, the board, I believe the Board of Trustees has met. They have made a presentation to the mayor. I don't believe that the mayor has officially made the decision to close the library and reduce those hours. But certainly, if that in fact occurred, there would be a turn back next year, creating back the free cash that you're utilizing.
So when do we plan on implementing these things?
Well, the business, we're thinking November 1st. The six family, as you heard from your colleagues, there's some discussion about the six families. If there's a decision made that the ordinance actually says up to 5 and not including 6, then that could be done as early as November 1st as well. The library could be as early as October 1st, realistically.
So, but I mean, where's the guarantee? So if we as a council are not reducing these line items, where's the incentive to go ahead and make sure or ensure that the six families stop on November 1st, or the businesses are not being picked up for a savings of $93,000? I mean, where's our guarantees in terms of these things being rolled out, or is it something that gets lost in the shuffle because there are just new items that we have to deal with? I mean, because if we as a council reduce that line item, then you folks are forced to really kind of make a move on this and really, keep your foot to the pedal on whether or not this is the way to go. I mean, this is really the only leverage that we have right now. So I thought the intent of this was really trying to truly find ways to reduce the use of one-time monies. And if we've got ones that are truly tangible, which I applaud, right, because that's what we want to see, if they're truly tangible and something that does not require a change in ordinance, I'm not sure why we wouldn't have those recommendations coming down from the administration to implement those immediately.
Councilor, if I could speak to just the business and the six family. So as Councilor in seat 4 had stated, and Councilor in seat 2 well knows, there are some disparities as far as numbers of businesses, number of carts that are out there. So right now the work is ongoing to try to identify exactly how many businesses there are, how many carts they have, and then estimate the savings overall for recycling and trash collection. I'd caution that if we put a number on it, reduce a line item, and we don't hit that, then that could be another issue. The business trash piece is immediately happening as far as the audit to try to figure out where we're at with that. The six family, there's a couple of different avenues that we'd like to look at attacking that situation. The ordinance is up to six family. That's what it states. So there's no question as to whether it's up to 5 or up to 6. It's up to 6 as it stands right now. That's what we collect. How we go about either stop collecting those or whether we're going to still collect them, but look at a reduction in the service possibly in certain ways. And again, until these discussions are really vetted out with the folks that need to hear it, I hesitate to bring out all the details right here. But I can say on that piece, there's a couple of different ways we could go with that, and that'd be up to the administration and this council for us to figure out. The business piece, I'd say, is more realistic to look for as of a November 1 possibility. But I'd like to get those numbers straight before we come down and say, this is the savings and this is what we could reduce that line item by. I think just in the spirit of this conversation, right, it was contentious last week or a couple weeks ago, and here we are now, and we're actually moving toward a resolution and people kind of getting on the same page. So I think that alone shows that we're moving in the right direction. So I'd hesitate to and from my department's piece of these ideas, say this is solid, this is what I know we can reduce a line item by, when I can't sit here and honestly tell you that I know what that number is yet. But I understand where you're coming from also, as far as your mentality, as far as wanting to reduce it to get us to commit to hitting those numbers. But I don't think I can commit to hitting any number right now until we really do the work that needs to be done.
Okay, listen, I can appreciate that. Just staying on the trash fee, can you just, the numbers are not making sense to me. So it's $10 per unit per quarter, or is it?
It was per month.
Per month.
Oh, per month.
Per month.
Okay. All right, maybe I missed that.
Right, so a single family would be 120 a year, a three-family 360, and so on.
Okay, just, all right, that makes sense, thank you. With that, I yield at this time.
Thank you. Counselor in seat 7, Counselor Pelletier, followed by Counselor in seat 8.
Thank you. $10 per apartment, you got a 6-unit. The responsibility would be with the landlord?
To pay that, sir, Counselor?
The
Yeah.
$10?
Yeah,
So it's
that'd be $720 a year for a six-family.
$720, so the landlord is responsible.
Correct.
So if he didn't want to pay, he'd have to go up on the rent.
Yeah, go up on the rent, and I kind of looked at it like this: if you really average out, what would you say the average rent of an apartment in a 6 tenement would be? About $1,000 a month, I would imagine. So that's what, for 6 family, that's $720,000 a year. $720 for the year for that doesn't even equate to 1 month's complete rent. I'm not diminishing the cost that homeowners have to run a 6-family, but I think it's manageable for a service that every other community nearly in Massachusetts pays for.
Well, I have to say, anybody that's got a 6-family, it's a business, really.
I would agree, Counsel.
Because they probably don't live there in the first place. And, Mrs. Sahadi, thank you for the information. We talked about the auction and the purchasing agency, which we have a new girl. How long has she been on?
February maybe?
Well, I'll tell you.
She's done a good job, huh?
Absolutely. And I get this spreadsheet here. And the other individual that was there was 2 workers. She needed another worker and never got nothing done. And I didn't see no auctions. And we were talking about it, and I got a call from DPW. They dumped a desk, chairs, and they said, there's nothing wrong with it. But she didn't want to put it out for bid. She didn't want to do nothing. Maybe that's why she's not working here today. But little things. And you talked about little things, and she got here a bookcase, and they asked for $5 starting bid. She only got $5. But she got rid of it. A table, $5, she got $5. US maps, $1, she got 14. Now, when John says, all the stuff's in the back there, try to get rid of it. I didn't even know she got rid of some. You got a pumper truck, starting bid, $900. She got $3,950. You gotta be kidding me. And practically junk, but somebody's junk, they want it. Another fire truck was $500, starting bid. $5,000. You know, that's big money. You had another one for $900, $3,800. And the boat and supplies, $8,000. She got $12,000 for it. And she only works part-time. What's her other job? She got two jobs, right?
She's a project manager for Mr.
Project
Gallagher.
manager. And the other individual needed more help, and we ain't squeezing nothing out of it. So the figures I got, it's about 31,000. She's done an excellent job. And she helps out with the real estate committee, the fire station. I just look, we're gonna put it for sale and all this stuff. Okay, I'll get all the work done for you. Get Matt Thomas, I'll get it all set up, and bing, bang, boom, she got it all set. And it's put it for sale. Next thing you know, we get a bid. And next thing you know, we're moving along. I talked to the individual a couple of weeks ago. He's still on track, and that's a good thing. And if it keeps going, I think we're gonna be able to get rid of that. It's all right, and that's it. If not, we're stuck with it, and the man knows how I feel about it. You talk about spending money, well, you're gonna spend $1 million, $1.3 million, maybe more, and the guy knows it. But, you know, that's a good thing. And as far as, we talk about, fees for the parking meters and all that stuff, you know, you get a ticket, whose fault is it? So I don't mind saying, hey, put it to $20 or $25. But the only problem we got, a lot of time it falls back on us. Like, we can do it all. I fix the ticket. No, I fix the ticket. I take it out of my campaign here, and don't tell them nothing. The ticket's all set. That's all right when the ticket was $5. You don't think I do it now? $20, $25, see you later. And you just can't go up there all the time and say, hey, can you fix this ticket? Yeah, I'll take care of it when it's $5. Big shot. I took care of it. Oh, yeah, Leo took care of it. They don't know it come out of my campaign fund. And I don't even know if that's legal. But that's besides the point. That's what I used to do. But if we get worse, oh, Leo, take care of it. Leo, take it. Next thing you know, I'm going broke. That's not the right thing to do. But, you know, the budget's the budget. That's what we got to deal with. And I'm hoping that tonight we pass this thing and let's put this thing to bed. And let's get on. One more thing, large vehicles, what are we talking, like somebody parks a camper?
Or a large truck or something that obstructs the view.
Yeah.
So there would be a fee. A lot of communities have, have a fee for that.
Yeah, I get a few calls.
I guess the police department as well as Mrs. Ferrera get a number of calls for obstruction of views.
What is it, $20 fine now?
There isn't. There.
Oh, there's none at all?
There's none at all.
Well, let me tell you, $20 cheap. If you want to park your trailer truck there for 2 nights, it's $40, and maybe you sleep in it. You go to a hotel, motel, it costs you a lot more than that. So to me, $20 is nothing. You're going to violate the law, let them pay $50. I don't care about that. Because they're not going to come see me because I ain't paying it, you know? Other than that, you know, I'm pretty well all set. And whatever we're gonna do to raise a little extra money without hurting anybody, you know, we don't wanna hurt anybody. But you're right, the 6 units, and it's the right way to go. It's gotta be what it's gotta be. I mean, the city's gotta move on. And the only other thing is, you know, I'm happy that the fire department is all set, and the police department is all set. And we had the hearings there with different departments, and most of them are short of help. The assessor's office needed help. The corporation council said he ain't got enough help. He said New Bedford's got 6 or 7, and I don't know, he's one, he's got what, 2 lawyers up there? Is it 1 lawyer or 2 lawyers? Howiak and?
Yeah, just he and Mr. Howiak.
That's it?
Yes.
I mean, you know, again, you got the claims and all, everything else that's going on. I think it's a lot of work. But they were in front of us and stating that we need help, we need help, we need help. And, you know, all the the jobs that went full, vacancies, stood vacant. And, you know, that's a lot of money that we just kept. Now, how about the city administrator? Is that gonna be your job?
No, Counselor.
You got enough?
I have enough to do.
Well, is he getting, what is he gonna do? You gonna have one, not have one?
I believe he's advertising.
Is advertising?
It's hard to find someone for that position.
What kind of money are we talking?
I believe it's in the budget, what
Oh, it's in the
Kathy-
budget?
Yeah.
Is it 140? Yeah, well, that's good money, not as much as some of these little towns, like Seekonk.
That's why we're still advertising.
But if we can find somebody good, that'd be a good thing. With that, I said enough on the budget, I'm gonna support it, I'm happy.
Thank
How
you, Counselor.
Thank
In
you.
seat 8, Counselor Pereira.
I sit here and I listen to us talk about trash. That is not a problem we're going to solve tonight. We know that.
That's correct.
And everybody has different ideas. Because the council has mentioned the word trash, I have been inundated by calls from people saying, I'd rather have the bags back because I pay for what I use. I've had other people that say, I own a 6-family, but I've got one person living in each unit. I think we should pay by the barrel. Then I've got other people thinking they should pay a flat fee. So that's for a different day. But I want to scream when I think that we could have had Casella taking our recyclables for free for 20 years. They'd have still been taking our recyclables for free. And it didn't happen because I couldn't even get a second on the council. I was young, because then I should have had them come in and talk about it at citizen input. I don't even think we had citizen input at that time. No, we did. But that drives me crazy. And Mr. Pacheco's shaking his head so he knows. He remembers me talking about that. Everybody tries to give the mayor assistance because that's part of our job. I get it that our job is legislative, but all of us meet with constituents on a daily basis, whether it's at the supermarket, at the gas station, at the hairdressers, whatever. I always have people talking to me about ideas. People will call me. Some people call me to tell me where there's a mess or where something's not right. I've called you, Mr. Perry, when I've gotten calls like that. So we all do get calls. So just, you know, Mr. Perry and I have met with Mike from Easy and Mr. Paquette and, you know, gone over the whole plan of what's going on. I know they were supposed to be rerouting the city. I don't know if they've done that yet. Some of the things, and I had talked to the mayor, I believe you were there, Mr. Sahadi, when we talked about getting rid of all the trash and whatever extra surplus that Mr. Perry had. So we're working on that, and I'm glad to see this. However, this is on a website, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Do we have the email to that website? Does anybody have it?
I don't have it, but I can get it for you.
Can you get it? Well, I think it's important because the viewers at home, people here, I know somebody that has wanted to put in a bid for certain items that are behind there, but they don't know how to do it. I said, well, there's a website. We had talked about it. The website wasn't up.
Yeah, it's
But now it is.
combuys.com.
Okay.
Ah, so you
What
know
is it? Do you know it, John?
Combuys? Yes.
Combuys.
Combuys.com, yeah. If you look that up, and then, of course, if you call the purchasing department,
Right.
they'll lead you in the right direction.
Tammy
I
will
believe
know?
there would probably be, if not a link, some sort of direction on our website in the purchasing department's area of our website.
Yeah, I
would
tried to
imagine.
find it,
You
so-
couldn't find it? Okay.
No.
All right, well, that makes sense, but yeah.
That's where I think we need to spend
combuys.com.
money, too.
Combuys.com, yeah.
But with that being said, you know, we've looked at that. We've looked at, I've talked to the mayor about, can you do an early retirement? Mrs. Hardy and I have talked about that. The state does early retirement sometimes. And you can pick whatever department you want early retirement. So you get rid of the people that are paying a low percent, you can bring other people in. You don't want to get rid of too many because you don't want to have brain freeze either. So there's something there to look at. We've talked about solar panels, whether it be in the parks, whether it be on, mainly the parks, whether it be on some of our municipal buildings. Why are we not looking at solar panels to cut our electricity cost? That's something we looked at. I've mentioned selling land, city land. Now there's an abatement program, but we have other city land that's really not near somebody. Let's look at selling some of that and get it back on the tax roll. I've complained 100 times about the water department selling the land that they have. We've talked about the metal fab building. How many months back did we talk about that metal fab building? If you're spending 30 grand a year on one, doesn't make sense. When we first brought down the budget, I thought about, what bothers me about that was the healthcare. I hate to take the 1.5 from healthcare, and when you look at the budget on healthcare, it's healthcare, dental, and all these other things. It's not dental, vision, none of that. It's healthcare. I would hate to see that money taken from there. And I know it was a motion on this council that money be taken from healthcare for police. I kind of disagree with that. I know we need police, but I would have rather have taken it from free cash. And I understand what the mayor has done with bringing in some ideas of where cost savings would be. Not that these are going to be implemented right away. Some of them I agree with, some of them I don't agree with. For example, I agree with the parking meters. I think that we're not getting what we should get, but I think that if we get an okay, that we can use that 7.9 any way we can, we need to change the meter heads. You need to be able to do it on your cell phone, because I've done it going places, done it on my cell phone, or you can use a debit card. And that way you free up 2 gentlemen that go around collecting nickels, dimes, and quarters out of these meters. They could be doing something else. So I think that would help on both sides. I know that when the budget first came down, I had talked to the chief of police and fire, and I know that they could have keeping individuals on with overtime money. With overtime money, the chief would have still been able to have 12 cars on the road. And it came down that we want to fully fund and get more police. That's fine. My worry is that next year we don't lay anybody off. So I think if we're looking at early retirement, perhaps, that could offset that. I really hate taking the 1.5 out of healthcare. But I have gotten an assurance from the mayor and Mrs. Sahadi that healthcare will not go below, that the money that they need, the money will be there. And in the future, I would encourage people never to go to the healthcare, to take money from healthcare. We pay Gallagher, we pay Diane Flash to give us the numbers. They know what they're doing. They've done it for years and years and years, and they've never steered us wrong. Let's adhere to the people that we're paying to do this for us. However, since I have a guarantee that it'll come, fine. The last thing is, people owe the city $5.5 million on tax bills, water and sewer bills. However, people come across a bad time. But then it's a 14% interest, and on top of that, it turns into a 16% interest. So with the interest, the penalties, and the fees, can't we do, like we do for traffic tickets around Christmas, everybody gets a break, you don't have to pay the fees, right? You can come in and pay your tickets. The IRS is doing that now. I don't know if you've seen ads on TV, but the IRS, if you owe them money, they're getting rid of interest and fees because the government needs money too. So if we could look into that and give people, whether it's 60 days or 90 days, that if you come in and pay your full tax bill that you owe, the interest and fees are going to be waived. That's a way, if you only got $1 or $2 million in that way, it's more than we have. And I think at the same time, we're helping people. Because all we've sat here and talked about is we can raise a fee here, raise a fee there, and I get it, our fees are pretty low. But in this city, when you try to raise a fee, everybody's upset. You raise, property taxes, everybody's upset. But then everybody's upset when they don't have the services that they need. So we're kind of like on a seesaw. You kind of got to just keep everybody happy, but then we need the money, or we don't get the services, and so it kind of goes back and forth. But I really thought letting the overtime go in and getting rid of the healthcare, keeping the healthcare where it was good. However, there were changes to that, and you go with the flow. I have been here in 2012, 13, and 14. I was here, and I voted on the budgets that Councilor Kadim, when he was city administrator, sent down. And those were difficult times. We had 9 C cuts, we had SAFER grants, we had all kinds of stuff. There wasn't much of a choice. But I hate to say it, right now I think we're in a similar situation. to say one is worse than the other. Honestly, with 9C cuts and all that went on, safer grants, et cetera, I wasn't worried about people dying like I am today. So you look at one, you look at the other. This is not a good time either. And I really worry about the safety of our residents. And thank God our residents, for the most part, have been doing okay. I know we've lost some people, heartbreaking as it is. But I think we're trying to do the best that we can. So for that reason, I would tell you where I didn't agree with certain things, Mrs. Sahadi, and where I did agree, and where I thought we could get money from. When I look at taking police, making people not, have to pay for police details, et cetera, well, do we do that for the children's parade? It was, what, $1,600? Do we not pay for police details there? How much does that bring into the city of Fall River? And people come watch the parade, and then they go to a restaurant or do something. When we have the Great Feast of the Holy Ghost, we have a lot of people that come in from Canada and other states that come in. I met 2 women there on a Thursday night once who told me they had been to Matuke's Fine Linen shopping all afternoon. So you might be paying $50,000 for police, but what does it generate in businesses and things like that? You've got to weigh that out. And then there's a vote of the council. If you feel that they're going to pay, then you vote. If you feel that they shouldn't, then you vote that way too. But I think it's hard to guesstimate that stuff, because sometimes you've got to spend a little money to make a little money. And that really helps a lot of the restaurants. It'll help a lot of our parking meters with people. There's just a lot of other factors. I think everything that the mayor has on his list are things that this council is going to have to talk about and discuss. I really hate discussing trash again. I am nauseated by talking so much trash. So let's get down to what is it we're going to do it, and move forward. I think it was tough votes before, and for political reason, things were taken away. So the fee was what, 3.5 for the fee and 2.5 for the bags. There's $6 million out of the budget that we have in front of us today. Was it worth it? I don't know. But anyway, now that I've told you my position and where I come from and a bunch of ideas, I really want you to look into the people that owe taxes, because I think that would help people as well. And we'd be getting money in. So it would be a win-win. We don't usually have many of them. But with that, I yield. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Before I acknowledge Councilor in seat 2 and 4, is the feast at Kennedy Park, that is canceled for this year, correct?
What is it?
The feast?
No,
Yeah.
COVID, it canceled.
It canceled. So we're budgeting that money, correct, in this fiscal year. Am I correct to say that, Mrs. Sahadi?
Yes, the police department did not reduce their budget specifically for the special events. As you know, they spend between line items and transfer between line items individually as needed. Same thing with in fiscal 20, and to some extent, in fiscal 21, the courts aren't really up and running like they had been, and so there may be some overtime savings in the court case time as well, but the chief did not reduce his budget as it relates to total overtime, which I believe is at 1.7 million.
Okay, and the $40,000 in civic celebrations?
That would be 4th of July. Correct. That'd be the fireworks contract that we put out each year.
We didn't have that either.
That is correct.
So what is the plan there?
Although we had a lot of fireworks.
Oh,
Are we just going to leave it and transfer it out at a later date?
That would be
That's what
correct.
that would be my
I'm
suggestion.
just stumbling across this now. It's not.
Right, yeah, no, that would be correct, Counsel.
Councilor in seat 2, Councilor Dion.
Yeah, I've, one other question here. In the healthcare section, I see that you reduced the number by $1,143,000. It says updated health claims, data that was received on 8/25. Are those the claims that haven't been put in because of COVID, people weren't having elective surgeries, et cetera? Or what exactly does that represent?
No, Counselor, that was the vote you took, that this body took, to reduce health claims by 1,000,004. And what I did was I just reduced it by 1,000,005 even, and made a couple of adjustments on the recoveries.
Okay, and the 269,571 reduction is representative of what?
I'm sorry.
Right
I don't-
underneath that, it says reduction, 269,571.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're looking, I mean, I know I gave it to you, but I don't have it in front of me, so.
Would you like to, would
Can-
that help?
Can I have help?
I'll circle it.
Basically, we reduced the budget from 40,500,000 to 39 million.
Right, I'm just curious what that reduction, what that number represents.
I think that just evened it out so I needed, you voted 1,412,591 to reduce it by. That was the vote of this council. So I adjusted this analysis so that it would bring us to $39 million even by reducing the 40,500,000. So I hate to use the word plug, but this was just to adjust the healthcare number that Diane LaFlash originally gave us down to an amount to equal $39 million. Does that make sense to you? So basically,
Yeah,
I took.
basically you rounded off 1.4, whatever. and
Exactly.
Made it 1.5 and reduced the
Exactly, and
overall
adjusted-
number by $1.5 million.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, thank you. So I still get stuck on, and I can't, my brain, if you add the projected funding from Gallagher, which was $34,719,000, and the MedX of 7,695, their number is still 42,414,664, and it's directly related and only related to healthcare, nothing else.
Correct.
So in order to bring that down to 39 million, you would have to take out 3 million plus.
Correct.
As, not 1.5 million, which I get it, you have the other reductions, which were increased, prescriptions were increased from 1 million to 1.1, stop loss was increased from 1.8 to 1.9. But again, some of these just projections, it's not,
They are.
it's not.
They are.
We don't know for sure or for fact that this is going to be the end result.
They're all estimates based on historical data and based on analysis that Gallagher does. And going back to that amount that you just added, the 34 million and the 7 million, now remember, you also have to add the dental, the Boston Life, and
Right, to
other-
come to your 45 million.
Right,
But
and then subtract all the recoveries.
Right. Right, so I'm trying right now to address historically, yeah, I get that, the healthcare.
But it's not just healthcare that goes into the trust fund. It's all the other aspects of the benefit package that employees of the city receive.
Correct. So, again, these are all projections. We don't know that this is what we're going to meet, so we don't know that in the end result, healthcare, the whole amount being transferred is only going to be 39 million. And what happens, so let's say we get back on track, and now, I don't know how many people were supposed to be having elective surgery. I don't know who didn't use their health care because of COVID. So let's say we see a spike in that. Let's say if it's only $500,000, that throws this number off. It's not the same reality anymore.
That's correct, but that number, so you're going to appropriate an amount of money. So we're going to say $39 million. And you're going to put that $39 million into a trust fund. And you're going to pay your bills out of that trust fund. That trust fund has a balance in it right now, right?
Of how much?
It's a little bit over $3 million, I believe. 3.8.
3887793.
And that was as of
Last
June
week.
or last week, okay. So it's got $3.8 million in it. So we have a balance in the trust fund. We should have a balance in the trust fund. We should never run that trust fund down to a zero. We have liabilities, they're called runoff claims, and they're for the claims that have been incurred but not reported, and they're paid over the next several months. So you should never run that balance down to zero. So we do have some monies, if you will, in that trust fund at this particular point in time. Do we believe, the administration as well as Gallagher, that we're funding this trust fund appropriately? Yes, the answer to that is yes. So based on all of the data that Gallagher has and the information that we have in terms of historical data on the recoveries, we believe that fund will have the monies in it to pay the claims of both health, dental, life, and other expenses.
So on the employee side, how much is in that account as a result of COVID and fewer claims?
I didn't bring the employee trust fund with me. I don't have that balance right off the top. It's
in the 6 million range, I believe.
It's at least 5 something, right? Exactly.
So theoretically, if they're at 6, we should be at 18, not 3.
Not theoretically. There are certainly people who think the trust fund should have 3 times what
Because of the 75-25.
because of the 75-25, but
Mm-hmm.
realistically, what would we be doing with $16 or $18 million in the trust fund? It doesn't truly make any fiscal sense to be sitting on those kinds of dollars when you're appropriating money into that trust fund annually.
Unless you have a sudden surge because of COVID or whatever, and the fact that, I don't know. I don't know, I still have an issue with that. I have an issue with the fact that Gallagher said we should be funding it at 42 million.
But we
with
are.
that, I yield.
We are funding it at $42 million.
Counselor in seat 4, Council Vice President LeBeau.
Did you want to finish that answer, Mrs.
Well,
Sullivan?
yes, we are funding it at $42 million. Our total expenses are actually higher than $42 million. So the $42 million is just the Blue Cross, the MedX, the stop loss, and the CanRx. We then are going to add to that the dental, the Boston Life, the wellness program, the fees that we pay or the amounts that we pay to employees who opt out, as well as the insurance tax that is taxed to us based on the programs, the health insurance programs that we have. From that, we subtract any recoveries that we're receiving. So the school grants gives us $1.4 million. We receive reimbursement from BCTC, from Community Development. We also receive stop loss money. We carved out the prescription drug program a couple of years ago, and as a result, we receive rebates on those prescription drugs that are purchased through certain companies, all of which nets down to the $39 million that you're transferring into the trust fund.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on a couple of things. Mr. Perry, the business trash count, we had talked about this at the meeting, but just so people understand, your number of businesses being collected is higher than Easy's currently.
Correct.
But Easy only did a 1-week count.
Correct.
So Easy's going to do a 4-week count.
They're going to do a 4-week count.
Did they start this week?
They started this week.
Okay.
Yep.
And that way, just some businesses they might not put trash out every week. That might be the difference between the 2 different counts. So I think it's important that we have an accurate number on that. So that might take, just a little more than a month. But as far as everything else, Mrs. Sahadi, these would come down from the administration for our next meeting.
The ordinances that are traffic-related, Mrs. Ferreira is already preparing them. I believe they go to her board first, and then they come here. So that would be correct.
And then I had a question. Council in seat 7 brought it up. The large vehicles obstructing the view, what does that mean?
Again, I guess to get an accurate answer, we really should talk to Mrs. Ferreira, but there are communities out there that when a large truck or a camper or somebody obstructs the view at a corner or in a particular area, there's a fee attached to it. Those, normally, those residents that are around where this vehicle is parked will call the police department.
Say they can't see
Right.
past it.
I have a
So it's not,
point of information on, if you don't mind. I know other towns, if there's a box truck or a truck that's over 9 feet and it's blocking the view of the stop sign or directional signs, then they can be tagged.
so we're talking about a view as far as another car being able to see past it, not you just look out your kitchen window and don't want to see.
Oh,
that
yes, I'm
trailer in
sorry,
the
I'm
back.
sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is we had talked about Corporation Council needing assistance. And we do, Council President and I had this discussion, we have a line item for our own legal counsel, which I don't want to see that go away. However, it might be something that we could pair up with the administration on and use budget funds and our funds, have that person as a counsel to the council, and then do other work as well. But I think that's something that should have further
I think Corporation
discussion.
Counsel Rumsley would really like that idea.
So I mean, that, I would leave that up to Council President to have that discussion with the mayor and Corporation Counsel Rumsey, but that's something that we could possibly work together on. I would still like to see that item remain in our line item, even our portion of it, so that we don't, that doesn't get lost and all of a sudden it's just an extra person, not an extra person, but another person in the legal department and lose our piece of that, of their job duties. And as far as the rentals, I missed the reason why we don't put up a building on our own. Was it space for it?
Well, we had looked at current, like I said, when Councilor Pereira first brought it up, we looked at putting up a space building at the DPW facility. So that was going to be 100 by 30, and that would hopefully be able to accommodate our equipment and Mr. Gallagher's equipment that he currently stores on Rodman Street, as well as the traffic department's equipment from Montauk Street. So, but it'd be 100,000 between the foundation and the erection of the building itself, and then the other amenities. So you somewhere around 100 to 125, 130,000 to put that building up. At that point, it wasn't a reality to be able to do that. But if that's something that we look at as an investment going forward to save the funds as far as the rent, we'd have to look to where we could carve out a piece of that property on Lewiston Street to be able to put that building up.
Well, I had a conversation with Counselor in seat 5 over the weekend because he was looking into this. And Mrs. Sahadi, if you could make sure that all the counselors get the rental information that Counselor in seat 5 has.
Certainly.
It makes sense. I think we said it in 2 years it would pay for itself, where we're just continually paying rent. So if it's 130,000, I think that's about around about what he had figured. And the rent that we're paying, it makes sense to do that in the long run. It makes sense to do that in the short run, quite honestly, if it will work for everybody. And then the other thing I just wanted to talk about was the city administrator position. I know that, the salary is $140,000, and that's an awful lot of money. However, it's not a lot of money for that particular position. When you can get paid more, go to a smaller town, less headaches, less political nonsense. I have, and I know Councilor Pereira has, since the beginning of Mayor Coogan's time, urged him to look for a city administrator. I reiterated this again last week. I don't think it's anybody else's job to do this piece that we're missing. I know that Mrs. Sahadi is trying to fill in as best as she can, but when I had this conversation with Mayor Coogan, he said, we're working on this, we're working on that. And I'm like, who is we? And he had said at that time it was about the billboards, yourself and him. He's missing that person, I think, that keeps all of the pieces moving. And if it takes a little bit more money, I spoke to Councilor in seat 1 about this over the weekend. We pay our superintendent over $200,000, I believe it is, to oversee the schools. But for someone to oversee the city, we pay $140,000. It doesn't really make sense. Not if you want a qualified person that's going to do a really good job. So again, I'm glad that he's advertising for it again, but I think that really needs to move up to the top of the priority list, and if it's something that the budget needs to be bumped up on, then I would be happy to support that. With that, I yield.
Counselor in seat 8, Counselor Pereira.
Well, Councilor La Liberty just touched on that. I was going to mention the city administrator. I think that, average people think $140,000 is a lot of money, which it is, but smaller towns get more than that. And if you want to get people who have the experience, who have the knowledge, who come with that education, you have to pay for it. And in the long run, it would serve you well. You have to have somebody who knows the inner workings of that. I mean, years ago, what we paid Bob Connors, Jim Smith, et cetera, it was more than what the average was around. And then with different budget cuts and this and that, you always reduced. So I think that to get a city administrator that's qualified, I mean, I've encouraged the mayor to get somebody interim who kind of knows the city, that could be here on a temporary basis to transition someone else in. He did say that he had, advertised again, and that he has gotten a few people who were interested and that he was going to be interviewing them. So I don't know where that's at, but he did say that he was going to be interviewing some people, which I think is good. I think we do need that. And I'm of the opinion that if we have money for a city lawyer for the council, and we fought for that for years and years, that person be housed in the legal department with the salary coming out of our department. And that would alleviate it. They could help out Attorney Rumsey, but they would also be there specifically for the council. Because I think that's something that over the years we've really fought diligently for. When we've had different views, every attorney comes forward with whatever their opinion is. So, but that's what I would suggest. With that, I yield. Is there any further questions?
I'll take care of that. Is there any further questions?
I'd make a motion to adjourn finance.
Motion to adjourn has been made by Counselor Pereira, seconded by Counselor Peckham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We're going right into full council. Carver City Council meeting will now be called to order, Madam Clerk.
Councilors Kadim?
Here.
Dion?
Here.
Kilby?
Here.
La Liberty LeBeau? Lee?
Here.
Peckham?
Here.
Pelletier?
Here.
Pereira?
Here.
President Ponti?
Here, everybody in the chamber can please rise for a moment of silent prayer. Thank you, and a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, and are deemed to acknowledge and permissible. Madam Clerk, good evening.
Good evening. The first item before you is a communication from the mayor and an order in the amount of $312,689,650 for the FY21 budget.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt the appropriation budget has been made by Councilor Pereira, seconded by Councilor Pelletier. Discussion. Hearing none.
Roll call.
Roll call. I just want to make a quick comment, and the mayor is fully aware of my position on this, and maybe I should have been a little bit more clear last week. And we've had numerous discussions, Mrs. Sahadi and I and the mayor, regarding my own personal position on this budget. While I appreciate the work that everybody has done, councilors included, I'm not going to be supporting the budget. I do have some questions on the durability and sustainability of the budget. The mayor's fully aware. Mrs. Sahadi is fully aware. They respect my position. I understand that there's numerous items before us that still need city council support, and they're speaking of fees, et cetera. I don't feel that it's lean enough, in my personal opinion, and with that, we'll continue to all march forward together, and everybody's willingness and passion to work towards the rest of this fiscal year, I'm sure we're all ready for the task. So I just want the council and the community to know the reason I am not supporting the budget. Councilman seat one.
Just point of clarification. So the motion was just to approve the budget. Are we not going
We're not, well,
category by category?
we're not, that's not what the motion's before us right now. It's the total appropriation. You yield?
Oh, I yield, yeah.
Thank you. Roll call. Hearing no further discussion, correct?
Correct.
Roll call.
On adoption of the order, Councilors Kadim,
No.
Dion,
No.
Kilby,
Yes.
Lallouie LeBeau,
Yes.
Lee,
No.
Peckham,
Yes.
Pelletier,
Yes.
Herrera,
Yes.
President Ponti.
No. Motion carries. Next order of business.
Mr. President, do you mind taking item 34 off the agenda just because
You want to move it up?
Could
I
we
second
move that
that.
up?
Absolutely,
Thank
no
you.
problem.
Just because.
Motion to take item 34 out of order
Second.
has been made by Councilor Pereira, seconded by Councilor Lee. Discussion on that?
Just a point of order around the prior vote, a question, I mean. Do we have to revoke the 112th?
They can send that down at the September meeting.
Okay, thank you, I yield.
Motion to waive the, take the item out of order has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk, item 34.
Ordered that the Veterans Center located at 755 Pine Street be named in honor of Kenneth Joseph Boyer, who honorably served in the U.S. Navy during the Korean War.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been
Second.
made by Councilor Dion, seconded by Council Vice President LeBeau. Discussion. Councilor in seat 4, Council Vice President LeBeau.
I just have a question to the clerk. Madam Clerk, does this have to be approved by the administration first? I know we've talked about this
No.
process of
It will-
naming things before.
It will go to the administration after the council votes. It follows the other procedure when it's a request made by a member of the public.
Thank you. I yield.
You yield?
Yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Motion to adopt has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. And if we can just, I know the mayor is going to be signing it probably without issue. Haven't spoke to him about it, but if you could please let the family and those who are in attendance tonight, if you can, made aware once the mayor signs, Madam Clerk,
Certainly.
because they have been waiting here all evening, and I think it'd be appropriate. So, thank you. Next order of business.
We have the mayor's communication in the order requesting the renewal of the contract with Roselli Clark and Associates to conduct the independent audit for FY 2020.
To adopt the order?
Motion to adopt has been made by Councilor Kilby,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Lee. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item number 3 is the mayor requesting the confirmation of the reappointment of Mary Sahadi to the Housing Authority.
Motion to adopt the
Motion to
request?
confirm
Second.
motion to confirm the reappointment of Mary Sahadi has been made by Councilor Kilby, seconded by Councilor Lee. Discussion. Hearing none. Councilor in seat 1, Councilor Kadim.
I'm just not sure how I'm going to vote on this. The mayor had, prior to his election, gone around saying that he wasn't going to have Ms. Sahadi either as the CFO if she was still serving on the Housing Authority, and now we've got this before us. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to speak with Mayor Coogan on this, so I'm not quite sure how I'm going to vote on it, so if we can do a roll call.
Fair enough. Motion to, hearing any further discussion. Councilor in
Nope.
seat 1, you yield.
Roll call.
We will do a roll call. No further discussion? Hearing none. Motion to confirm the appointment has been made and seconded. Roll call.
On confirmation, Councilors Kadim,
Object.
Any other objections?
No, that stops the vote.
Well, we understand, but
Oh.
what happens is when there's one objection, you ask if there's another objection. You go to the next meeting or the meeting thereafter, Madam Clerk. So am I correct with that?
Yes.
We've had those before. Hearing no further objections. Next order of business.
Item number 4 is the mayor's request for the confirmation of the appointment of Jose Barboza to the Traffic Commission.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion to adopt has been made by Councilor Pereira, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Discussion. Councilor in seat 5, Council Vice President LeBeau. 4, sorry. You were in 5 last year.
I just have a question. I agree with the appointment. Is it a conflict with the charter because he is a police officer, or is there supposed to be a police officer on the board?
There is a police officer on the board. He is the police chief's designee who is required to serve on the board. This would be an additional seat on the board.
So then would this be in conflict with the charter that says you can't have more than one position?
Can I say something?
I mean, I think it would be an excellent appointee, but however, if we already have the police chiefs on there as a requirement, then this is going to be a conflict with the charter.
It's a conflict with the charter in that he is an employee of the city, but we do have a legal opinion from prior administration and corporation counsel that basically leaves that vote up to the council.
We have a legal opinion
We
from
have
the-
a legal opinion.
From what, Judge Macy?
Yes.
That was prior administration, so I don't know that I'd put much weight on that. I'm worried that this vote will, if it was to pass, that we'd be in conflict with the charter, so.
So we do have members that serve on multiple boards.
But there are requirements of certain boards that they have certain members, so that's,
As designees, but there are other boards where members serve on more than one board, and that's the council's will.
I yield.
Thank you, Councilor in seat 8, Councilor Pereira.
I just think that when we look at the charter and we look at Josh Hexler, who's on the school committee, how you're not supposed to work for the city and be on, get 2 pays or whatever. In this board, there is no pay. But I think that puts into question the legality of the charter because it was overruled in court, allowing him to remain as a firefighter and remain on the school committee. So I think that has put into question that aspect of the charter. I think that the charter gave us more problems than solutions, and we just have to wait to kind of go through them, but I see Allison, the clerk, smiling at that. I guess it's given her issues as well. With that, I yield.
Councilor in seat 4, Council Vice President LeBeau.
I appreciate that. I think it was because he was running for office, and they said that he couldn't stop anybody from running for office. I'll vote on this. I just, could we ask our current corporation counsel for his opinion? Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
Councilor in seat 2, Councilor Dion.
So if we're going to ask our current corporate counsel, should we table it first?
Sounds good. Motion to table.
Motion to table has been made by Councilor
Second.
Kadim, seconded by Councilor Dion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item's tabled.
Have a number of recommendations to amend the traffic
Motion
ordinances.
to refer to ordinance.
Motion to refer
Second.
to ordinance has been made by Councilor Kadim, seconded by Councilor Pereira. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Council
have the-
President?
Councilor in seat 5, Councilor Roy.
Just about that order that we just voted to table. Was there a motion to send a letter in that?
No, we will make sure that we get an opinion from Corporation
Okay.
Counsel
All right.
prior
Thank
to
you.
it coming down. I won't put it on the agenda until such time.
All right, thanks. I yield.
Madam Clerk?
Item number 6 is the school department's chief operations officer in the building and facilities work and improvement report.
Motion to
have
accept
that.
and place on
Motion
file.
to accept and place on file has
Second.
been made by Councilor Kadim, seconded by Councilor Dion. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The Committee on Health and Environmental Affairs, at a meeting held on August 19th, voted unanimously to recommend the accompanying resolution be granted leave to withdraw. This was the proposed digital billboards resolution.
To adopt the report?
Motion to give item leave to withdraw, right? Is that the item?
Yeah, it's leave to withdraw.
Yes.
Yep, motion to give the item 7 leave to withdraw has been made by Councilor Kilby, correct?
Yes.
Seconded by Councilor Lee. Discussion, hearing none. All the, Councilor?
Aye.
There's really no discussion on leave to withdraw.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
Councilor, the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Committee on Health and Environmental Affairs, at a meeting held on August 19th, voted unanimously to recommend that the accompanying communication be granted leave to withdraw. This is a communication from a city resident regarding sewage treatment plant odors.
Motion to adopt?
Motion to give the item leave to withdraw has been
Yep.
made by Councilor Pereira,
Second?
seconded by Councilor Kilby. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The Committee on Health and Environmental Affairs, at a meeting held on August 19th, voted unanimously to recommend that the accompanying resolution, as amended, be referred to the Committee on Ordinances and Legislation. This was the resolution that relates to trash receptacles at drive-through establishments.
Motion to refer to ordinance would be appropriate.
Motion to
Motion to
refer.
refer to ordinance has been made by
Second.
Councilor Peckham, seconded by Councilor Lee. Discussion, Councilor in seat 8, Councilor Pereira.
When we discussed this with Councilor Lee's Committee on Environmental Affairs, and Councilor Pelletier and I served there, it was to do the drive-through, through all the drive-throughs that they have a receptacle there. It was also amended, and it wasn't said, it was amended because Councilor Pelletier felt that if you had a business with a parking lot, that there should be a receptacle there as well. So that's how we amended it to go forward to ordinance. With that, I yield.
Thank
That
you.
was a good
Motion to
thing.
refer
Thank
to
you.
ordinance has been made and seconded. Hearing no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The Committee on Ordinances and Legislation, at a meeting held on August 13th, voted unanimously to recommend the accompanying proposed ordinance, accompanied by an emergency preamble, be passed through first reading, second reading, passed to be enrolled, and passed to be ordained, with Councilor Kadim absent and not voting. This is a handicap parking ordinance.
Motion to...
Motion to adopt.
Accept the emergency
Second.
preamble has been made by Councilor Dion, seconded by Councilor Lee. Roll call.
On adoption of the emergency preamble, Councilors Kadim,
Yes.
Dion,
Yes.
Kilby,
Yes.
Lullaby LeBeau,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Peckham,
Yes.
Pelletier,
Yes.
Pereira,
Yes.
President Ponti.
Yes. Motion to adopt all readings would be appropriate.
So made.
Motion to adopt all
Second.
readings has been made by Councilor Kilby,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Peckham. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The Committee on Ordinances and Legislation, at a meeting held on August 13th, voted unanimously to recommend the accompanying proposed ordinance be passed through first reading, with Councilor Kadim absent and not voting. It's a miscellaneous traffic ordinance.
Motion to pass through first reading would be appropriate.
Motion.
Motion to
Second.
pass through first reading has been made by Councilor Pereira.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Dion. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The Committee on Ordinances and Legislation, at a meeting held on August 13th, voted unanimously to recommend that the accompanying proposed ordinance be referred to Corporation Council for review, with Councilor Kadim absent and not voting. This and proposed ordinance regarding solid waste updates.
Motion to refer to Corporation Council probably be appropriate. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep. Motion to refer to Corporation Council would be
Motion
appropriate.
so made.
Second.
Motion to refer to Corporation Council has been made by Councilor Dion, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The Committee on Ordinances and Legislation, at a meeting held on August 13th, voted unanimously to recommend that the accompanying resolution be referred to Corporation Council to prepare a proposed ordinance, with Councilors Kadim and Pereira absent and not voting. This was a resolution to establish an oversight committee to annually report on the finances, efficiencies, and needs of city departments.
Motion to refer to Corporation Council?
Motion made.
Motion to refer to Corporation
Second.
Council has been made by Council Vice President LeBeau, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Discussion, Councilor in seat 2, Councilor Dion.
Nope.
No, I thought you raised your hand. I'm in my auctioneer role. Motion, motion to refer to Corporation Council has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The Committee on Ordinances and Legislation, at a meeting held on August 13th, voted unanimously to recommend that the accompanying proposed ordinance be referred to Corporation Council to review and prepare a proposed ordinance regarding an abutters lot program.
Motion to refer to Corporation Council
Motion to
would be
refer.
appropriate.
Second.
Has been made by Councilor Lee, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Committee on Ordinances and Legislation, at a meeting held on August 13th, voted unanimously to recommend that the accompanying communication be referred to Corporation Council to prepare a proposed ordinance regarding the authorization to enact a compost recycling program.
Motion to refer to Corporation Council has
Motion
been
to
made by
refer.
Councilor Peckham, seconded by Council Vice President LeBeau. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The Committee on Ordinances and Legislation, at a meeting held on August 13th, voted unanimously to recommend that the accompanying proposed ordinance be granted leave to withdraw. This is the official city bag ordinance.
Motion to give Councilor seat 1 your point of your question?
I was going to make a motion to waive the rules. Do we not have the administration here?
No, I don't. Either she went to the bathroom or she left. I'm not sure. She didn't indicate.
I yield.
Motion to give the item leave to withdraw. Madam Clerk, this is through ordinance, and ordinance gave the item leave to withdraw?
Yes.
Is there a motion to give the item leave to withdraw?
Motion to give the item leave to withdraw, but I wanted to say something. But if I say something, I can't.
Can't.
If I make a motion, I can't say anything.
Motion made.
Motion to give the item leave to withdraw has been made by Counselor Lee.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Dion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item number 17 is a proposed ordinance for passage through second reading and enrollment and relates to miscellaneous traffic.
Is there a motion to pass through second reading and enrollment?
Motion.
Motion
So
to
made.
Second
pass
reading and enrollment.
The item, second reading and enrollment, item 17, has been made by Counselor Dion, seconded by Counselor Pereira. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
And item number 18 is a proposed ordinance for passage through second reading and enrollment and relates to EMT basic position.
Motion to pass the
Motion
item.
through second reading and enrollment.
Motion to
Second.
pass the item through second reading and enrollment has been made by Counselor Pereira, seconded by Counselor Lee. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
Whereas a request for the submittal of citizens' input was received and not read at the City Council meeting on Tuesday, August 11th, and whereas new information has been received in relation to Massachusetts General Law, Part 1, Title 7, Chapter 45, Section 2, and case law presented to the City Council by Corporation Counsel regarding the removal and subsequent appointment of 2 members of the Board of Park Commissioners, now therefore be it resolved that Corporation Counsel and a representative of the administration be invited to a future meeting of the City Council Committee on Finance to discuss these matters to ensure that the city is following Mass General Law and correct procedures.
Is there a motion to adopt? Motion to adopt has been made by Counselor
Second.
Kilby, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Discussion of sponsor of the resolution, one of them, Counselor in seat 8, Counselor Pereira.
The only question that I have, I think it's a good resolution. We need to look into it. We did send earlier something to Corporation Council to look at. The issue that I have with this is perhaps this should go to the ordinance committee and have the discussion in the ordinance committee, because it has absolutely nothing to do with finances, because none of these positions are paid positions. I think it's better to go in front of the ordinance committee, have Corporation Council come down and look at what the laws are in the ordinance relative to this. I think that sometimes this council tends to put things to finance committee, that the reason we have subcommittees is to discuss things. And if we're going to keep discussing things at finance, then why have other subcommittees? You know, we've been tending to do that, which I've not seen happen in years past. But this checking into Mass General laws, et cetera, doesn't have one penny to do with finances, because nobody on that board gets paid. It's just to see the legality of it. And I'm on the ordinance committee, so it's not like I don't want to hear it. I do. I'm on the ordinance committee. But I think that's the proper place for it. Just my opinion. With that, I yield.
Thank you, and I acknowledge you first. The sponsors of the resolutions, Councilor Dion and Council Vice President LeBeau, and to your point, Councilor, in my years, and I haven't been on here for decades or anything, but usually what what I've seen done is when they have questions that they want the entire council here for, they refer it to finance. That's probably the reason that this happened this way. It's not uncommon, but I understand what you're saying. Councilor in seat 2, the sponsor of the resolution, Councilor Dion.
Yeah, I understand what is being said also, but on that note, the reason I refer to finance is exactly that. All 9 members took a vote to add 2 people onto this board. If Mass General Law wasn't followed, if proper procedures weren't followed, if something needs to be done or changed, and who knows, maybe we heard the citizens' input tonight. Nobody heard that night. Nobody knows what the vote would or would not have been had the new information been disclosed on that night and had that citizens' input been read. So based on those facts is why I felt it should be referred back to the 9 people who took the original vote, made the original decision, because in light of everything, and perhaps with the discussion, there could be somebody on the prevailing side who might choose to request that the vote be reconsidered. So those were my reasons for sending it to finance. With that, I yield.
Fair enough, and I just want the record to reflect that there was no, and I know you know this, Councilor, but there was no purposeful reason for not reading that evening. Just so you know, the clerks were very, very busy that afternoon, and by the time they got back to their desk, there wasn't enough time before the council meeting to read it to the council. So I don't want there to be any conception in the community, whereas the clerks or myself or anybody purposely ignored this communication. It was just really just a matter of timing, which the clerk and I have addressed. So I just want to make that crystal clear. Councilman
Yeah,
C2?
And none of my comments were accusatory
I
or
know they
anything
weren't.
like that. It was just a matter of the way it rolled out, the facts as they
I
were.
totally.
That's
I t-
all.
I totally respect that, but I just didn't want there to be a consensus in the community that we're not reading citizens' input, so. Councilman seat 4, Council Vice President LeBeau. Councilman seat 1, Councilor Kadim.
Through you, Mr. President, just so that Counselor in seat 2 and Counselor in, I think, seat 4, is that who support?
Co-sponsored? Mhm.
Co-sponsored.
Sponsored it, yeah.
If there's new information that comes to light, either if it's in Finance Committee or Ordinance, whichever committee it's going to go to, if there's new information that comes to light, I was on the prevailing side of that vote. I'd make a motion to reconsider if that's the case, given
Right.
that, I want the opportunity to be had. I don't want to do a motion to reconsider at this point, but let's
Right.
vet it out. So within the next couple of weeks, if we can figure out what's going on, if there's some new information out there, then I'll make a motion to reconsider.
At that time, okay. Thank you, Counselor. Madam Clerk, if you can please get this, if passed this evening, to Corporation Council as early as tomorrow morning, so we can start working on any kind of specific opinions and be briefed and prepared for this. And also, like I said, at citizens' input, if you can also forward the communication from that attorney who sent that citizens' input in, that would be helpful as well. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Roll call.
Motion to adopt has been made and seconded. Roll call.
On adoption of the resolution, Councilors Kadim?
Yes.
Dion?
Yes.
Kilby?
Yes.
La Liberty LeBeau?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Peckham?
Yes.
Pelletier?
Yes.
Pereira?
No,
President Ponti?
Yes.
I don't think it should go to finance, that's all. It's a good motion, but I don't think it should go.
Whereas numerous trees throughout the city are being cut down by various city departments, and whereas the city has purchased a stump grinder, yet tree stumps remain to be an eyesore all around the city. Now therefore be it resolved that the Committee on Health and Environmental Affairs convene with the Director of Community Maintenance, the Director of Cemeteries and Trees, and representatives from the Board of Park Commissioners and the Urban Tree Commission to discuss coordinating services for the removal of tree stumps throughout the city.
Is there a motion?
To adopt?
Motion to adopt has been made by Councilor Kilby,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Pereira. Discussion, sponsor of the resolution, Councilor in seat 8, Councilor Pereira.
I just find it odd when we have the facilities department having the city electrician and the city painter cutting down trees. That makes no sense to me. And I know that we do have a tree commission. I know that we had an arborist. I just think that, it should go to a committee to be discussed on what they're going to do to make it feasible. You want people to take care of their property, drive around the city and see how many stumps are around. I've asked Mr. Gallagher for a list of all the stumps that have been removed this year. I haven't received it. I know he's been out, so I haven't received it. Just let them look at it, and if you're going to take somebody from cemetery, somebody from facilities, somebody from the water department, whatever, just one day a week or a day and a half a week, that's going to be their job, because the city looks a mess, with Eastern Avenue's got a bunch of them there. But with that, I yield.
Thank you, Councilor in seat 4, Council Vice President LeBeau.
Yeah, I'm fine with the resolution. I just have a question. Council President, the meeting that we were in with the mayor, when he said he might come down with a supplemental budget to fund some positions, he listed 3 positions and a stump grinder. But this resolution says that we
do have one.
Have one.
Yeah, I don't know what went into that analysis that the mayor had at that time.
Okay, I yield.
Thank you, Councilor in seat 8.
The mayor did mention that to me when I was in a briefing with him, that they were purchasing one. I said, you don't have to purchase one, we have one. We have one, but it appears that maybe not many people know how to use it. So somebody needs to be trained on how to use it. Sorry that Mr. Pacheco already left, but we bought it when Mr. Pacheco was here. So it's in the cemeteries department. Again, another building that we have the foundation, but they never built, so the new equipment for the cemetery department is out on Bullock Street in the yard. So there's another metal building. We already have the foundation. There's another metal building that we could put up to save the equipment that we have. Just life goes on in Fall River. But with that, I yield. Thank you so much. Oh, perhaps Mr. Perry, could we ask him? Mr. Perry, do we have a stump grinder? We do. Thank you. Okay, question solved. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adopt has been made and seconded. Hearing no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Whereas in accordance with Chapter 2, Section 54 of the Code of the City of Fall River, Massachusetts, the regular meetings of the City Council shall be held on the second and fourth Tuesday evening of each month at 7 p.m. unless otherwise ordered. And whereas the City Council Committee on Finance meeting is held prior to the regular meeting of the City Council and run well beyond 7 p.m. Now therefore be it resolved that the Fall River City Council consider scheduling the Committee on Finance meeting on a night separate from the regular meeting of the City Council, or if on the same night as the council meeting, place no more than 2 items on the Committee on Finance agenda.
Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Is there a second? Hearing no second.
I'll second it.
Counselor in seat 4, you seconded the motion?
Yes.
The adoption? Seconded by Council Vice President LeBeau. Discussion? Discussion to sponsor the resolution. Counselor in seat 8, Counselor Pereira.
I mean, the only thing is, when we have too many things on Finance Committee, the regular council meeting that's supposed to start at 7 doesn't start till much later. It's not fair. I've had complaints from people that watch from home that, gee, I was up all night watching it, and they want to know what has passed, what has not passed, things that people are waiting for. I don't mind coming in for a Finance Committee meeting one night and being here debating. I know we're going to be talking about trash, and that's going to be in Finance. If you think that you're going to have a meeting at 6 o'clock and be done at 7, or 5:30 and be done at 7 talking about trash, you're probably not going to be. So if that had to be on a separate night, fine. But other items, if it's 1 or 2 items, and I talked to Council President about this, if it's 1 or 2 items, fine. But we should try to get the council meeting started at 7, so that it's fair to even city workers and people that are here. It's fair to everybody, and everybody gets to hear it. That's the only thing. I mean, 1 or 2 items, I'm okay with. But to have a council meeting starting at 9:30, 10 o'clock, kind of not fair to people. With that, I yield.
Thank you. I just want to let you know, I'm not going to be in support of this. I did have a conversation with you, Councilor Pereira. I will do a better job of limiting the items in Finance. Last year, the last 2 years when I was council president, we could list 6 items on the agenda and would fly right through. This year, we seem to be sticking on one specific item for hours upon hours. So I've already instructed the clerks that going forward in the Committee on Finance, we're going to be probably doing 1 or 2 items at most in Finance, so we can get into full council a little quicker. But again, I was just basing my experience on past, councils, and we'd put 8 items on the agenda on Finance and
Yeah.
would fly right through. I do recall my first 2 years on the City Council would be here till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, every single meeting, and so it's not uncommon that meetings started at 9:30, 10 o'clock when there's things to be had. So I'm not going to be supporting this. Council in seat 4, Council Vice President.
I agree with you, Council President. I understand it, and I would like people to be able to watch. They can always watch it the next day on demand or on TV or online if they need to, but I think it should be the Council President's prerogative what he does and doesn't put on the Finance meeting, and I think he knows, the lengths of things, and I think councils need to police themselves on how long they go on for if timing of this is an issue. As far as the trash specific resolution, I know we had a conversation of having that on a separate night, because that is something that unfortunately will go on forever. With that, I yield.
Thank you. Council in seat 8, Council Pereira.
I just have a question, through the president to the clerk. If the meeting is going on at Finance, can we make a motion to adjourn till time specific after the council meeting? We could do that as well, correct?
Is your question,
To the clerk.
Okay,
My
but
question is to the clerk.
all right, but
that if we have a Finance
but I'm
Committee
the
meeting,
parliamentarian, the clerk isn't.
we can,
The
well, she
question-
knows the rules too.
Okay.
Right?
Is the question, just so I'm clear, you want to adjourn you would want to adjourn the Committee on Finance and then pick it up at the end of the council meeting?
I'm just saying, if the council meeting is going on too long, and you have people waiting here, it's not about watching something on demand the following day. If somebody's here that is waiting for an item on the agenda, it could be that somebody's waiting for some type of a permit for an auto body repair shop or whatever, that they're waiting to hear a response to something that they have on the agenda, curb cuts, what have you. If they're waiting for that, can we say, 7:30, it looks like it's still going to go on, can we just motion to adjourn till after the council meeting, and then hear the council meeting, and then come back to it?
No,
We can't do that?
I don't believe so. Has that ever happened? I mean, I haven't been here, but we could recess.
You can consider, Mr. President?
But,
It has
I mean,
happened.
listen, this is a debate that we're going around in circles, and I'm saying that my promise to the council and the community is that I'm going to limit the number of items in finance, and we're going to all police ourselves with, staying on topic and staying on, and I got to do a better job of reining in people when we go off topic and talk about all these other things, when we have one item before us. So that's my promise to you. If you want to keep having this conversation, that's fine.
And this
I'm
is
not
an
go-
example.
This is an example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call.
On adoption of the resolution, Councilors Kadim,
Did have my hands up, but,
I'm
gotta
sorry,
wait.
Council, I didn't see your hand.
That's all right.
Councilman seat one, I'll allow you
no,
to
no,
speak.
it's okay, no. Good.
Do you want to speak, Counselor?
No, no,
Okay.
okay. It was a no.
it was a no.
Yeah.
Councilor Dion,
No.
Councilor Kilby,
No.
Lullaby LeBeau,
No.
Lee,
No.
Peckham,
No.
Pelletier, Pereira,
Yes,
President Conti.
No. Next order of business.
that's all right. That's the way it was. That's
It
the vote
happens.
of the budget before was the only no, right? So. it is
Whereas
what
the
it is.
Transformative Development Initiative, TDI, is a program for gateway cities designed to accelerate economic growth within focused districts, and whereas TDI is currently active in 17 gateway cities in Massachusetts, and whereas the city of Fall River is a gateway city, now therefore be it resolved that the Committee on Economic Development and Tourism convene with representatives from Mass Development to discuss this important program.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been made by Councilor
Second.
Pereira, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Discussion, the sponsor of the resolution. Councilman seat 8, Councilor Pereira.
Just that I met with Jim McEwen, and he'd like to be able to come in and discuss with the Economic Development Committee what he's working on for the downtown area. So it would be a way for us to hear all the positive strides that he's made. With that, I yield.
Motion, hearing no further discussion, motion to adopt has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Mr. President, if there are no objections from my colleagues, I'd like to take items 23 to 32
Second.
together.
Motion to take items 23 through 33,
32.
32 together has been. we can-
Second.
We can take 33 together if you want to.
Oh,
You can, it was
do
just a
30,
separate
yeah.
one, but.
All right,
that's fine.
motion to take
33.
items 23
33.
through 33 together has been made by Councilor Kadim.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Pereira. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion to adopt after reading has been made by Councilor
moved.
Lee, seconded by Councilor Kadim. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk.
We have curb removals for Kevin Swist at 403 Albert Street, Master Builder Ministries at 54 Bedard Street, Patricia Charette at 1077 County Street, Brian Costa at 145 Dickinson Street, Nuno De Silva, 370 Grattan Street, Joanne Bentley, 229 High Crest Road, Paulo Gouveia, 54 Nightingale Street, Bruno De Cruz, 879 Pierce Street, Ruiz Sobrero, 655 to 657 Robeson, Jasmine Investments LLC at 242 Stafford Road, and a pole location for Mass Electric Company for new pole on Pleasant Street.
Thank you. Next order of business.
Have a request for a light order at the corner of North Ogden and Bedford Street.
Motion to adopt would be appropriate.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been made by Councilor
Second.
Peckham, seconded by Councilor Dion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Have the police chief's report on licenses.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt the police
Second.
chief's
Second.
report has been made by Councilor Kadim, seconded by Councilor Dion. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in
All
favor?
approved?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Have the renewal, the application for the renewal of auto repair shop licenses for Manuel Ferreira at 232 Lapham Street.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
No.
No.
Manuel
no.
Ferreira is on
Manuel Ferreira.
Aberdeen.
Excuse me,
J-
Manuel Ferreira at 178 Aberdeen Street, and Jody Oliveira at 232 Lapham Street.
Great.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been made by Councilor Pereira,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Peckham. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 38 is an order granting permission for the transfer of an auto repair shop license located at 1741 Stafford Road from Paul B. Farrier to Ground Earth Incorporated.
Motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt
Second.
has been made by Counselor Kilby, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
I have a number of claims.
Motion to refer to Corporation Council has been made by Counselor Peckham, seconded by Council Vice President LeBeau. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
We have applications for drain layer licenses from Dixon Incorporated, Foley Excavation LLC, and Thermo Mechanical Systems Corporation.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve has been made by Counselor Kadim,
Second.
seconded
Second.
by Counselor Pereira. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
We have minutes of the planning board.
Item 44 to 41 to 44, we could take it together?
Motion to take items 41, 42, 43, 44 together has been made by Counselor Pereira, seconded by Counselor Lee. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion to approve
Motion
and
to
accept and
approve
place
and
on
accept.
file would be appropriate. Has been
Second.
made by Counselor Kadim, seconded by Counselor Dion. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk, just read those for the record.
We have planning board minutes of their July 13th meeting, public hearings of the city council on August 11th and August 24th, and the Committee on Finance on July 14th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next order of business.
Item 45 is a communication
I'm sorry.
from...
Motion to
Sorry.
take 45, 46, 47, 50, 51, 52,
Well, I
53
think 45
together.
go
For all
to-
communications.
I think
I would
45,
suggest
45
taking
is-
items, if we can, please, I would suggest taking items 45 through 47 together.
Okay, so made. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yep. Motion to take items 45, 46, and 47 together has been made by Counselor Kilby, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Discussion. Hearing.
Council
Discussion. Counselor in
President?
seat 4.
Yeah, so item 45, I'm not sure that
45,
it's just an accept and place on file, so I won't be voting it together. They were asking the city to relinquish rights to a portion of a paper street.
We have a motion that is to accept, to take all items together at this
I
point.
understand, I'm just saying what's in number 45.
That's a
before
great
that's
point.
Voted on.
So does any counselor want to remove their motion?
I'll remove my- that's a good
Motion
point.
has been removed.
Yeah.
Item 45, Madam Clerk.
Item 45 is a communication from Jason Rosati from the Walter Furman Company with a request to relinquish rights, title, and interest in a portion of the paper street known as Center Street.
motion to refer to planning?
Motion to refer to planning has been made by Counselor
Second.
Pereira, seconded by Counselor Dion. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
Now, item 46 to 53, if we could take together?
We have two 48.
46 and 47 would be appropriate to take together.
Yep.
And then we have referrals of Corporation Council on the other items, so, on two of them. So, taking 46 and 47 together has been made by Counselor Pereira, seconded by Counselor Kilby. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion to accept and place on file items 46 and 47 after reading has been made by Counselor Dion, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk.
46 and 47 are communications. First from Colin Dias requesting the creation of a task force to examine revenue costs affecting the city and its taxpayers and ways to improve government. 47 is a communication also from Colin Dias regarding the town of Gosnold.
It's the appetite of the council to take 48 and 49 together to refer to Corporation Council.
Motion so made.
Motion to take items
Second.
48 and 49 together and refer to Corporation Council has been made by Counselor Kilby.
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Dion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. After reading, Madam Clerk.
Item 48 is an open meeting law complaint filed by Colin Dias alleging a violation of the City Council Committee on Finance on July 28th. And item 49 is a open meeting law complaint filed by Colin Dias alleging a violation of the Committee on Health and Environmental Affairs on August 19th.
Next order of business.
We have the Assistant Corporation Counsel's response to an open meeting law complaint filed by Colin Dias.
Is it the will of the council to take items 50 through 53 together to accept and place on file?
Yes, motion. please.
Motion. Second.
Motion to take items 51, 52, 50, 51, 52, 53 together and accept and place on file has been made by Counselor Kilby, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Discussion. After reading, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk?
50 is the Assistant Corporation Counsel's response to an open meeting law complaint filed by Colin Dias alleging a violation on July 28th. 51 is the Assistant Corporation Counsel's response to an open meeting law complaint filed by Colin Dias alleging the violation on July 14th. And items 52 and 53 are the Attorney General's responses and acknowledgements to open meeting law complaints filed on June 23rd and July 14th.
2-minute recess to sign ordinances. Fall River City Council meeting now back in order. Madam Clerk?
We have two proposed ordinances for passage through final ordination. The first is miscellaneous traffic.
Motion to adopt would be appropriate.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Motion to adopt has been made by Councilor Dion, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
And the second for passage through ordination is the EMT basic position.
Motion
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been made by Councilor Peckham, seconded by Councilor Pereira. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed?
Mr. President.
Councilor,
Oh, no.
opposed?
Nobody's opposed.
The ayes have it. Councilor in seat 8, Councilor Pereira.
Just to share, on Thursday, September 17th at noon at Bicentennial Vietnam Veterans Memorial Park, the first panel will be hung for the Vietnam Wall. All councilors are invited. There is a motorcade from State Pier there. If you'd like to participate in the motorcade, that's fine. If you want to go, just RSVP, let me know, and we will have a seat for you. And certainly, the public is invited as well. Finally, our wall is getting built.
That's great.
I'm
A
sorry,
lot of hard work
but
there.
it's getting-
What was the date on that?
September
Council Pereira, when is
16th?
that?
17th, it's
17th.
Thursday, the
I'm still getting
17th.
it.
At what time?
Noontime, the ceremony will begin 11 o'clock from the State Pier. There's veterans, Vietnam Veterans Motorcycle Group is going to be, and police and fire are going to be escorting it over. And Becca Collins from Collins Construction will be putting up the first panel.
Nice.
That's great.
So anybody
Nice.
that
A lot of
wants
hard
to go,
work there. Thank you, Councilor.
you're welcome.
Motion to adopt, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Second.
adjourn has been made by Councilor Peckham, seconded by Councilor Dion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Good night, folks.
Good night.